connecting to the real nerds is so easy. You can go to our website, realnerdspodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook. We have a Twitter account, @RealNerds. We also have Instagram. You can call us, 720-6nerds5. You want to email us? You can do that too, realnerds@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show.
Hi, my name is Paul Caroli, and I host a podcast called Changing Denver. It's a monthly show about our city's physical spaces, how we make them, and how they make us. But it's so much more than that. It's the conversations, ideas, and stories that define Denver's perpetual state of flux. Find more from our team at changingdenver.com and join the conversation on Twitter @ChangingDenver. Denver's changing. We can help.
Do you remember where you were when we elected a Sasquatch president?
How about when you learned Ben Franklin was a robot?
Or first heard Stalin's mixtape?
I'm Zach Powers.
I'm Brian Flynn, and we host The Revisionists.
Each episode, one person explains real history and another tells an alternate version.
And the winner becomes the truth. We let comics from Denver and around the country run wild through history.
It's an in-depth look at history, but with more Babadooks.
Check out The Revisionists, available every other Saturday.
Wherever you get podcasts and at revisionistpodcast.com.
This is Zach Howard, and you're listening to the Real Nerds Podcast.
Welcome to Real Nerds Podcast, unofficially the official podcast of Denver Comic Con 2018 and beyond. Small crew today. I'm Ryan. With me is
James
and
Zach.
And every week on Real Nerds Podcast, we go see a new movie and we podcast our experience to the world. This week, we went and saw It. Stay tuned to the end of the show where we will spoil It and reveal if...
That's the first of many jokes like that.
Yeah. Or spoil the film, and we'll say if you should see it or not, play the trailer, and then we'll spoil it. So if you want to see it and you want to hear if you should see it or not, don't listen to after the trailer.
I pointed out to James that after I walked out of the movie on Friday, I was like, I had my reaction to the movie, but I also had the revelation of like, oh my God, there's going to be so many bad jokes this episode, and there's going to be so many bad jokes on my Instagram page from here on out, or my Facebook page.
It's just,
I should say.
it's just so easy.
Before we get started, this is our first real episode. It feels like in a while.
Yeah.
In so much that
you mean because I've been missing so much?
Yeah, and I've missed you.
Oh.
Well, that and when we would have had a regular one, Brad and I ended up doing it.
I know, it sucked.
And then the mystery show.
Sometimes my stupid job gets in the way.
Stupid job.
My job's not stupid, but sometimes the hours are.
Yeah. It's just been and
the movies have been awful.
Yeah, the movies have been terrible. I was super excited to go to the Alamo and see another movie again this week because it had been so long. And there was just a number of things that kept coming up in those last few weeks.
It's weird, right?
Oh yeah. And unfortunately, it's not going to stop. I keep because then in a couple weeks we've got Blade Runner coming up, which is great, but then that's also my birthday, and I'm going to be out of town for some of it, but hopefully we can make it all work.
So you're too important to come here on your birthday? How old are you going to be, James?
Oh, no. I'm going to be 30.
It's all over from here.
I know.
It's all downhill.
I'm 26, and I already know it's going to be downhill at that point.
I can feel my ovaries drying up right now. It's really terrible. Holy shit, there's some good Blu-rays this week. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to get there.
Well, I was going to talk about how irresponsible me and James are.
Oh my gosh.
So
when you sent that text this week, I was so pissed.
So me and James if you listen to the podcast, know that we love Alfred Hitchcock.
Mm-hmm.
And James's favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie is maybe his most popular, most acclaimed one is Rebecca.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
she is it is not only my favorite of his films, she is my favorite villain of all time. And y'all know how much I love Belloc, but here's this villain that is, spoilers for Rebecca, kind of not in the movie.
Dude, that movie's 77 years old. How can you do that?
But that's what's so amazing about it. Here's this villain that represents a whole lot of like actual people's fears, but also is really not in the movie and is so terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
what kind of damage can Rebecca do?
Hitchcock's first American film was Rebecca.
Yep.
And he won an Oscar for it. His only Oscar.
Well,
Yep.
he didn't win it. The David O. Selznick won it.
Right. The film won
The
an
film
Oscar.
won it.
The film won the Oscar. Come
Yeah.
on.
You know what we're saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
We got it, film
but
nerd.
it is true that technically he never got one.
Yeah.
Except for the honorary one where he just said thank you, and then he walked away,
Yeah.
pissed off as hell.
Nice.
Anyway.
Should have
So-
dropped that ship, been like,
But anyway, I want to hear your story.
So I believe Paramount, or is it Fox, owns Rebecca?
I think it's MGM.
Is it MGM?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
well, which would now
well.
be Sony and Fox.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, they put out all of Hitchcock's films, and I have a couple of them. Notorious, and I think Rear Window, and they're really awful Blu-ray
yeah, the covers are terrible because it's like this big bold blocky letter coming at you like Rebecca, and you're like, "Ah."
and it has like eyes on it. You're like, what the
Yeah.
hell? And then,
Yeah.
so my favorite website is Blu-ray.com because they give really great in-depth Blu-ray reviews, and it helps me on some purchases that I'm not sure about.
Right.
And so I went there Thursday, someday this
some
week.
Wednesday, I think.
And I saw that it says Rebecca on it. I'm like, oh. And I click on it. Fucking Criterion Rebecca with like a badass cover and their special features. Everything on it's all 5s.
Yeah.
So I ordered that.
That's not unheard of, though. I think Rebecca got released by them at one point before. Like in their history. I don't know if it was like Laserdisc or early DVD for them, but
Yeah, I think it was DVD only.
yeah, but like
because I've looked at it before.
So that means they're bringing it out for Blu-ray now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
very
So me and
exciting.
James are very disappointed in ourselves.
Yeah, Criterion
Yeah.
does good job with Hitchcock. They've
Oh,
got,
they do a good job with everything.
well,
I-
yeah.
I
I
do
mean,
good.
I just think like with Hitchcock is like they do some stuff with the special features that you're not expecting.
I will say with Hitchcock and really important films,
Mm-hmm.
they're the best at the special features and preserving them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whether it's like The Kid, I've watched it a few months ago. It's called The Lady Vanishes. It's another Hitchcock that takes place on a train. Great Blu-ray.
Yep. I like the cover for that one too.
Maybe not his best film. Still a great film, but I mean, it's
They treat it as if though it was the best thing ever made.
exactly, and that's why I love Criterion.
Yeah.
And there's a great the To Catch a Thief Blu-ray is really great, and I only have the normal Blu-ray. It's not anything special, but they've just got some really cool features on there. And you're right. Like they treat it like it's a very big deal, which is cool.
I mean, my To Be or Not to Be Blu-ray is one of my favorite things that I own right now because it treats a film that I thought nobody could have given two fucks about, like as if though it was like the best thing since sliced bread. So,
Zach, you went to the Sloan's Lake Alamo. How was that? Besides, I mean, the aesthetics. I'm not talking about your experience.
okay, so he kind of told you a little bit
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah.
So the aesthetics of the Barfly is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It is a great bar. I would take down the Portrait of Kubrick, but whatever. That's just my personal opinion.
Wow. Man, shots fired.
He's everywhere. Come on, we get it. He
It's-
made it.
What-
He made the. He made the Clockwork
where's
Orange.
Sam Raimi?
Oh,
See,
there you go.
I mean, I want Quentin Tarantino on there, or maybe maybe
Okay.
Scorsese, or you know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean,
Barfly's good. I like the aesthetic. I like that you can go outside and sit outside in the patio.
I like that it has like a 1920s feel to it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
very
The
much.
chandeliers are really cool.
Yeah, it's got that lounge aesthetic, like almost like the Cotton Club. Like a nightclub.
I keep on waiting for a flapper girl to come.
What would your order be, sir? And then the inside, but like so, the ticket area, the box office, is really nice. I love the lighting of it. Like it feels like a movie palace. Like you know how you used to have the balcony and whatnot. So we don't obviously have that today, but the intention is there. And then you walk through to get to your screen, and it's a long row, and it's got this great artwork of. I think they're all like more or less kung fu films.
Yeah.
That seems to be their.
They're all like sort of exploitation films. It
Yeah,
looks like.
I mean, but a majority of them are like they look like they're coming out of Japan.
Yeah.
And they can hold a lot of space. And they were doing the Anime Film Festival there this weekend, so I was actually impressed. Like, I guess I can reveal it now. I programmed part of the DocuWest festival this year.
Oh, cool.
That's why they're so boring.
All
Just kidding.
of them were about Jack
That's
Benny,
terrible.
guys. So,
An old-timey radio. Actually, I saw this. I was at Barnes & Noble, and I was in the magazines section where people still read them.
Uh-huh.
And there's this like old-timey radio magazine. I was like, I should get that for Zach.
And then I didn't.
And then I didn't
Does it
because
just have a picture
it's
of the inside
$8.
as like honorary president? No, but and then like so I like that they can fit space in there for festivals, which is nice because I love Littleton a lot. It'll always be my hometown, Alamo, but the space there doesn't necessarily suggest the necessity for a festival. Like kind of like I'm glad they're gonna do Telluride horror or not Telluride, Mile High Horror there next year. I think it is so. But I mean, I liked it overall, and Steve was there, and talked with him a little bit. He's doing great. The staff there is amazing. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Logan, who worked at the Barfly, who was like super attentive and like biggest badass on the planet. And his name is Logan, guys. You know, I mean, I almost asked him like, dude, do you have those claw things? So I like it though. I will say though, I do find it weird that. Because I was telling James in the car that it's so small on the outside, like it's like a TARDIS situation. Like it feels a lot bigger inside than it does outside, and like it being on the west end of Colfax, it's not so far on the west end of Colfax, but it is on the west end of Colfax. Is kind of like they're gonna have to sort out the riffraff for a while,
Which I think.
Well, that whole area is being revitalized, and what they do is where the Alamo is, and if you right behind it, they have really expensive apartments.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'd be too expensive for riffraffs to live there.
Yeah,
they did that at. It used to be called Villa Italia, and now it's called Belmar.
Mm-hmm.
They just make it too expensive for the unsavory to live there.
It's called gentrification, and you can read all about it on the internet.
Yep. But I go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's interesting because we had a pretty terrible experience with like somebody who was very drunk, that ended up getting kicked out. And it was great. It was actually really nice that, well, I will say I hesitated too long before putting up my card. But by the time we had sort of complained, and then like, dude, they got, and I think they knew like, okay, this one is clearly bad enough where this person is really drunk and belligerent that like she got the person got the warning, and then
they just stayed by the.
Oh yeah,
from what I heard,
the manager just went. Yeah,
I left the theater and I didn't go back in, and I'm not going to divulge why. But long story short, I did not know what ended up happening, but I guess they stayed off to the side.
Oh yeah.
And waited for them to make another fuck up.
I watched her do it where like she went and did the warning, and then the manager was there, and she just stood there and watched, and like let them do a couple of like hoots or comments that seemed like you were maybe interacting with the movie, and then once it was clear like, nah, man, you're not like. And as soon as she moved, I hear him go like, "Fine, kick me out." Blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Yeah, that's right. Go the fuck home. You no longer get the right to leave your house.
Call yourself an Uber."
I'll tell you right now. Right before I left, what he was doing was he was ruffling through his backpack, which kind of made me like a little nervous. But then he started like mumbling to himself, "Must be the white boys. It's always the white boys." I'm like, "Fuck, okay."
Okay.
I'm like, I've already seen it, and I know enough to talk about it on the show today.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Barfly for a glass of water.
Yeah.
So in a fight or flight, you flew.
I flew. Yeah, I'm not brave, man.
That's okay.
I think we've made it clear. I'm annoying. I can be abused, and I fly at the face of danger. I never said I was a hero, Billy.
Oh, man.
But
Having said all that,
yeah,
Alamo is a great place to see movies.
It is. My
in
favorite.
fact, this is what's playing at the Alamo Drafthouse next week.
I see what you did there. Hello.
Hi, I'm Kevin Smith.
Hi, I'm Leonard Maltin.
Hi, I'm Mark Hamill.
Hi, I'm Elijah Wood.
This is Seth Rogen.
I'm Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
I'm Ron Starr.
Welcome to the Alamo Drafthouse.
The transitions work a lot better, Zach, if you don't keep on going and going and going about what you're talking about.
I'm also flawed in that way too.
David Gilmour live at Pompeii. If you don't know who David Gilmour is, he is a guitarist for Pink Floyd.
Sweet.
Dan's shaking his head. He knows. We do have one studio audience member. Drag Queen Bingo is also there.
I'm not saying I'll be there, guys, but maybe.
Yeah, might be fun. May It Last, a portrait of the Avett brothers.
Ooh.
Oh, that's co-directed by Judd Apatow. So,
oh, cool.
I think it's an Amazon thing too, so
Nice.
it will be coming to Prime soon.
Oh, well, yeah.
Video Vortex presents Future War.
Oh my goodness. That is one of the highest budget looking video vortexes I've ever seen. Holy
They're
shit.
fighting dinosaurs.
Oh my
in the
gosh. They got
future.
the whole head of a dinosaur that they could shove through windows and fight and make you fight. That was cool.
Better than Jurassic Park?
No. Just higher budget than like the other video vortex films.
Okay.
Still only worth $1.
Yes. Serenity movie party.
Right on.
Be a good one.
Cool.
I think that's actually coming out on 4K soon too.
We'll get there.
In the Heat of the Night is also playing.
Ooh, yes, they call me Mr. Tibbs.
Sci-Fi 25 screening presents Spaceballs movie party.
Spaceballs, the movie party.
And Zach knows what's also happening is a DocuWest International Films Fest is happening as well.
Hey, I guess I'm going to have to go back to Sloan's Lake again.
Yeah.
I heard that was poorly programmed.
It's been programmed by a bitch.
Whoa. Oh my goodness.
That's what my name is in the program. I told him, like, just label me bitch.
See, Zach, clearly you are brave and you don't flee because you keep coming back here for more abuse.
So I just want to
don't
give
Abuse victims always return to the...
give a quick shout out to Telluride Horror Show has announced their lineup this year, and there's still a few more surprises like they do every year. John Davison, if you listen to, we do have an interview with him, producer extraordinaire. He's bringing a bunch of old like grindhouse and horror movie trailers. Mm-hmm. You can also see Victor Crowley, which is the secret film Adam Green shot, which is the fourth part of the Hatchet series.
Crazy. Wait, it's a secret film?
Oh, you didn't hear about this?
No, I didn't.
So, this is actually a really cute story. If you go to bloodydisgusting.com or...
Sorry, it's just funny when you say it out loud.
Yeah, so they had an interview with him, and so what he did is he shot a secret film. Mm-hmm. And the reason he shot Victor Crowley is he was at Comic-Con or somewhere. I can't remember where, maybe a horror convention. Mm-hmm. And he was back, it had to have been a horror convention. He was backstage, and George Romero came up to him. Mm-hmm. And he said, I gotta tell you, I love those Hatchet movies. And so he didn't want to make another one. He made 3 of them. He has a TV show, and he's also did Digging Up the Marrow.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which I heard was okay.
It's all right. And he, but I do like him as a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's like, I don't know if I have a story. And then Romero said something about people love him. And so he went back and he wrote Victor Crowley for the 10th year anniversary. And he decided he wasn't going to tell anybody about it. It was shot under the name of his dog. They went back to Louisiana.
Arwen.
Yeah, Arwen. There you go. And he called up Kane Hodder. He's like, hey, you want to come out and do this? He's like, fuck yeah, I want to be Victor Crowley again. So they shot this whole movie, and then they dropped a bombshell, like, premiere screening last week in Los Angeles.
Wow. That's
under
cool.
Victor Crowley. And no one knew what it was. He walked down. I was like, hey, this is the new Hatchet movie. Wow. And so that's going to be at Telluride Horror as well.
Nice.
Creep 2 is doing his Colorado premiere. Jungle, which is Daniel Radcliffe's new movie, is also going to be there. Mm-hmm. They also have a few more surprises. If you can make it out to Telluride in October for the Horror Film Fest, it is amazing. We had such a great time. Unfortunately, life keeps on getting in the way for us to go back out there. Mm-hmm. But I do want to go back out there again. And Tim, right?
Tim.
I had like a total.
It's been so long since we talked to him.
He's not just Tim; he's the Tim.
Yeah, he's such a sweet guy.
Absolutely, so unassuming, and like, so you meet him, and when he's like the guy who runs this horror fest, you're like, you.
I remember the first year we went there, I wasn't sure what to expect because the first year we did Denver Comic-Con, this lady named Amy was in charge of the publicity from Tsunami, and she emailed me and said, hey, would you be willing to go out to Telluride for this horror fest and cover it? You get free passes. You just have to pay for your room and board.
Yeah.
And I said, fuck yeah.
I'll go to Telluride.
And we went there, and he was the nicest guy. Oh, yeah. Gave us passes, got to see a whole bunch of movies, interviewed cool people. The second time we went out was probably my favorite because we got to interview the Battery guys.
No, the Battery was the first time.
Was that the first time?
Yeah.
What was the second time?
Phil Tippett was the
Phil
second
Tippett,
time.
so it was the second time.
Right.
And Paul Salmon's going to be back this year.
Cool.
And he's just he's so cool. And every time I watch Blu-ray documentaries, I'm like, oh my gosh, there he is again.
Yeah.
He is really, truly a film historian.
So great.
So the tickets go fast there because it's just a little festival.
Yeah.
Make sure you pick them up because you'll have a great time.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's such a neat little town that like any good excuse to go to Telluride is worth it.
But it's starting to get big because it's getting coverage from like big horror sites, and I actually think it's a part of another festival now. Oh, Alamo helps out with it. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Alamo
cool.
helps out with it.
Very cool.
Because if you go to buy tickets now, it takes you to Alamo's website.
Oh, wow.
And also, every once in a while, we get phone calls. This week, we received a phone call from Corinne.
Cool.
And I'm going to play for you guys right now. And Zach, she actually asks you a question, and I can't fucking believe it.
Oh, okay.
Here's Corinne.
Hey, nerds. It's Corinne. I hope you guys are having a good kickoff to your fall season. I just had a couple of questions for you to kind of spur discussion. First of all, what did you think of this past summer movie season? I didn't get out to see very many. I saw Wonder Woman. I think I saw Spider-Man: Homecoming. I think I maybe saw another movie, but I don't remember what it is. But it sounds like box office revenues were down this year from past years, like one of the lowest rated August in recent memory. So just interested to hear what you guys thought of the summer movie season as a whole. Was it better? Was it worse than previous years? Also, I had a question for Zach, because he had talked about how Casablanca was like the third best film or his third favorite film or something of that nature, and I just wondered what were the other two above it. And I think I had another question on that one. I forget what it is. No. Oh, have any of you watched The Defenders? Because if you have, I'm interested to hear your opinion, and if not, I am really curious if someone's willing to watch it, and then let us all know how it is. I've seen it, and I want to know what other people think of it too. So thanks, guys, and hope you're having fun. See you soon. Bye.
So thanks for calling, Corinne. It's always great from here. She's going to be on the Kingsman, hopefully.
Is that next week?
And I think it's the following
week.
week.
It's the week after. Yeah.
She said she wanted to come on. We'll reach out to her and see if she can make it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
She's a big writer, so she's busy. But hopefully she can make it. To answer her first question, my overall opinion of the summer movies, if they were good movies, there was a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of bad stuff. And people are burnt out from
comic
book movies or big tentpole movies. I don't think that's the problem. I think if you make a good movie, people will go.
Yeah. The truth is, it is a really good example, and I'm not commenting on the quality of the film. I'm commenting on the fact that for the past 4 or 5 weeks, there's been so little to see that I truly believe, the word of mouth on the movie is really good, and so that helps. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's magnified by the fact that people are hungry to see something good.
Always.
Because it has been just kind of lame.
And I've said this on many podcasts before. If they would spread it out a little more, you bunch them all together, and something like, I haven't even seen it, but I know I won't I don't want to, but I might, is Transformers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so, each movie got progressively worse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway,
sorry,
they did, and then but you have something like Wonder Woman, which I think is a great film, and the stuff like that catches on. I mean, it's over $400 million.
Yeah.
I think 410. Spider-Man, people weren't sure of, but then after the reviews started coming, like, oh, this might be the best Spider-Man ever.
Yeah.
It had a great weekend, and it's been in the top 10 for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So it won't make as much money as Wonder Woman, but if you have a movie where people respond to, it'll stay in the top 10.
I think this is what I've noticed for it, because I'm going to go on record and saying, like, this has been my favorite summer in recent memory. I think the only other summer that I liked as much as this one was probably 2012, because of the fact...
Because you're a big Roland Emmerich fan.
What?
Never mind, sorry.
Because especially June and July, I'm going to specifically point out June and July, every week when we went to a film, it seemed like more often than not, it was 80% good, 20% garbage. And I point out to like within a row of a sequence of rows, we had Spider-Man: Homecoming, we had War for the Planet of the Apes, we had Baby Driver, we have, and then we have stuff that we didn't even do the main review on, like The Big Sick, which come out in the summer, and I seek out because thankfully it's that available. And then you also have your indie fare like Good Time and all that stuff. But I think that and Logan Lucky even, like, I know it didn't blow up the box office, but like I'm not always looking at the box office report. I'm looking at the quality of the film.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean I agree, but if
That does play a big part of it.
if the quality of the film is not good, people will respond. I mean, they'll go out and see a movie.
Yeah. Like even Cars 3, like I was not expecting Cars 3 to be as enjoyable as it was.
I think Cars 3 is brilliant but Cars 2 damaged the reputation so much that it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
It's still,
And I think that the fare for kids movies has gotten a little bit better. Like there's other stuff out there that's actually. I mean, you still have your Secret Life of Pets, but you get some a couple other movies a year now where you're like, man, there's a kids movie that's either Disney or whatever. I think that also
and I think
people those Pixar movies aren't quite as tentpole-y as they used to be. Because there's other options.
And I think this summer actually proves that just as important as the tentpoles are, the mid-budget movie, I'm not going to say it's making a comeback, but I think there's enough examples to show that they can work and be profitable as long as you're focusing on quality with them as opposed to the accoutrements. And Baby Driver's a really good example of that. Big Sick is a good example of that because, I mean, it's not like a mega blockbuster, but it made a decent amount of money for Amazon Studios. And then you also have, I would want to say, I wish I could say Logan Lucky, but that's like a weird like instance where, yeah, they bombed, but they're not losing money because they technically already pre-sold everything because it's not a major studio. But
yeah, and I mean, box office has no result on if a movie's good.
No, I know, but
like, it can buoy a movie that's just okay. It's an old, obviously it's old now, but Batman Begins did not start off like how comic book movies usually start.
Yeah.
I think it was 58 million.
Yep, 58 million.
And ended up doing 215.
Yeah,
so it's doing 4 times.
And it did 415 worldwide.
Yeah, so it's respectable.
Yeah.
But the word of mouth eventually caught on, like, oh, these are good movies. And I think the same thing with Wonder Woman. It had a really good opening.
Yeah.
But its staying power is because, like, oh, it's saying something different. And this might be a comic book movie, but if you make it always goes back. If you make a good movie, people will see it.
Yeah.
Baby Driver is another great example. It had a really good opening, but again, word of mouth, and you should see this movie. Sustainability helped it, and it's good for someone like Edgar Wright, who I think is brilliant, to finally get a hit.
Yeah. I mean, I would add the addendum that, like, I think what you're saying is true in the context of a summer like this where there's enough misses to make space, right? There's always movie, and we can name you've got your Scott Pilgrims out there where they're great movies that then they don't get enough attention for whatever reason, or they're booked. They're booked against something that is not, or that ends up blowing up, and that movie gets forgotten. But I think in a summer like this, where you have, I do feel like this is a conversation we end up having almost every summer, where unless the summer is particularly great, you still have sort of that like hindsight where you're like, oh man, like I feel like there just hasn't been anything in a while, especially this time of year when it starts to lull. But this is a summer where I look back and I go like, man, there were a lot of just surprising misses, between an Alien Covenant, a Pirates. I mean, even Baywatch. Like you said, it was pretty good, but it wasn't like.
I'll talk about this week.
The word of mouth wasn't great on that movie. Something like The Mummy that again was so poorly reviewed. I think that puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. That kind of sinks a lot of the great stuff, right? People forget about how good a Baby Driver or a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or
It's because we have a Pirates 5.
And there's some weird stuff this summer, right? I feel like Dunkirk was a September release that came out in July.
Yeah.
But it does, as I look back at the list of movies this summer, the fact that like Atomic Blonde was the movie we reviewed, when that movie is so clearly a like March release or a February release, like it just seemed like it did seem like a summer where there was a bit of a lull, and you kind of went like, oh, okay, well, this is what we got, So some great stuff, just a lot of misses. There were too many Dark Towers.
I think
that wasn't a metaphor. I mean the movie Dark Tower.
There's only one Dark Tower, but there's 8 books, guys.
Yeah.
I think I'll stick by my guns on that. It's the my favorite summer so far since 2012, because that for me is the summer to beat in terms of like what we ended up getting out of it, movie wise. 2007 might also be one in contention,
Great
and
year.
2008, but we will talk about 2007 on another episode.
Right.
So Zach, we know what Casablanca is your third favorite film.
Yeah.
Last week you revealed your favorite film of all time,
Jackie Brown.
So
then,
what's number 2 then?
number 2 is always going to be Zodiac.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I love Zodiac.
Explain
a lot.
why.
And I kind of talked a little bit about it on the Movies Made Me episode earlier in the year. But the overall, I love that movie for the reason Brad hates that movie. I'm going to put it that way for the listeners, because they probably listened to when Brad revealed how he saw it for the first time and was unimpressed. That movie, its strength is that there is no answer to this mystery. And the movie isn't about catching a serial killer. I know it's sold that way in the trailer, but it's not. That movie is about misinformation and paranoia and obsession. And it tackles all three of those subjects perfectly.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is my favorite actor. I don't think I've talked about him in a long time, since Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So,
a long time is a month and a half.
But his performance, the last scene with him is amazing. When he's on the houseboat and he's
tossed it. I don't know. I moved him to a fucking boat.
Yeah, and
to
me, that's what the movie is. It's about almost getting there and being obsessed with it and
never let it go.
Never let it go.
And I think honestly, I'm a big fan of the end of movies, because it's the last thing you walk out with, and it has one of my favorite endings because of it's the scene in the airport. It doesn't have any of the major stars in it. It's two like actors, but they're not like stars. And they're doing the scene where it's Mike Mageau, who's one of the first victims of the Zodiac, is alive, and he's hiding out in Canada, I believe. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Canada. And they're at an airport, and he meets Mike Mageau meets an agent at the airport to look over headshots in a lineup. And he says, like, take your time. And if you see somebody you recognize, point them out. And he points out someone. And he says, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "I'm pretty sure. He had a round face like this guy. Am I to understand that you're pointing at the other one now?" I'm like, "No, I just said he had a round face like this one, but this one." And then he says, on a scale of 1 to 10, "How sure are you?" And the last line, I love it because it sums up the entire movie. "Last time I saw this face was in 1963. I'm fairly sure that that's the man who shot me." And then it ends with the hurdy-gurdy song, and I'm like, fuck. Like, my mind blew up the third time I watched it with that ending, because it took me 2 viewings to understand how brilliant this movie was. And then by the time I get to the third viewing, I was like, fuck, this is a masterpiece. Fincher will never do any better than this. I think. Because we don't know.
Yeah.
He's still alive, guys.
It's an amazing
So
movie.
I would say, it's number 2. I mean, like, I might end up doing a top 10 at some point for the website, but like, I'll tell you, number 4 is Halloween, because that movie I grew up with in its own strange way. But like, but yeah, it's Zodiac. So it's Jackie Brown, Zodiac, Casablanca.
Nice.
So
that's a good one.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, Corinne.
Yeah,
Look forward to seeing you, and for more comments, and
Why
I'll
you
keep
want
on
to know
reading
more
the
about
current.
me is beyond me.
Zach, you're fascinatingly dull. I couldn't let it go.
Every time you talk, people just go, "Really?"
James, let's unspool some real news.
Okay.
It's real news.
Excuse me, we got to download the DLP file, guys. Film reels are so yesterday.
You're that guy.
Did you see Dunkirk?
Yes, I did.
Then you saw it on film.
That's right, asshole. Let's not beat around the bush any. Some crazy big news happened this week. Colin Trevorrow is no longer directing Star Wars 9.
We need to have a intro segment for news like this now called Star Wars Watch Day 47.
Seriously. I mean,
and what it boils down to is
how excited I am.
Yeah. Besides that, is Kathleen Kennedy is in charge of Lucasfilm.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not play ball with Lucasfilms, then you can poontang your ass on out the door because what I will say with her is I think she's 100% right because she is in charge of billions of dollars, and it's not just she has more pressure than anybody.
Yeah.
She's the one who's in charge of this has to work, this has to work, this has to work.
And it's a very crucial stage for that franchise.
It is very crucial because you had Force Awakens, $928 million, $2 billion at the box office. So they've recaptured it.
Yeah.
Rogue One was a big test. Like, well, are people going to see it without the main story?
Right.
$1 billion. People responded to it. I love that movie. It wasn't as well received as Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But I don't think it could be.
No.
It has its extreme fans, and then it has its okay fans.
Yeah, and so then you have the Han Solo project that they brought aboard guys who are very talented.
Mm-hmm.
But after you read what they did, she's like, you can't do it. You can't improvise scenes when everybody has to set up millions of dollars worth of shots. And she warned him. And then I read that they stopped even they were late to the set constantly. And then she just axed him.
I think so. Like there's a part of me that feels that filmmakers, especially filmmakers who are not known, who don't understand where we're going, like so up and comers or like aspiring, that would say like, oh, they're just hindering on an artist's vision. It's like, well, first of all, guys, it's called the film business, and there's a word in there you're not reading. But number two is that if you're going to throw at me the example of, well, George Lucas did it and nobody touched his vision and he got to do it that way, I'm like,
that's bullshit.
Yeah, because they gave him the minimalist amount of money they possibly could to make that movie. They let him go because they thought they would get like a decent return. It ended up becoming a cultural phenomenon, and when that happens, you can't just do anything you want with it. You have to walk a very fine line. And if you can't, and you're getting hired by a company ultimately.
Yeah.
If
it is a job.
It's like, okay, I work for the ARC thrift store. If I go into the ARC thrift store and start telling them I should do stuff the way Goodwill does it, ARC's going to can me.
Can I read the quote? Because
Absolutely.
honestly, it just gives me chills.
Oh, because it's a good quote.
Because it's really good. So this is from Vulture, who basically talked to somebody who was a producer on the set of Jurassic World and Book of Henry, and is at least somewhat close to it. So says their at least this is what they say their source is, right? During the making of Jurassic World, he focused a great deal of his creative energies on asserting his opinion. But because he had been personally hired by Spielberg, no one could say you're fired. Once the film went through the roof and he chose to do Book of Henry, they're talking about, Trevorrow was unbearable, had an egotistical point of view, and he was always asserting that. There's one gatekeeper when it comes to Star Wars, and it's Kathleen Kennedy. If you rub Kathleen Kennedy the wrong way, in any way, you're out. You're done. A lot of these young new directors want to come in and say, I want to do this and I want to do that. And a lot of these guys, Lord Miller, Colin Trevorrow, got very rich very fast and believed a lot of their own hype, and that they don't want to play by the rules. They want to do shit differently, and Kathleen Kennedy isn't going to fuck around with that. Which is just like,
because she can't afford to, guys.
Right. I mean, part of it is
$4 billion property.
Right. And here's the thing: at the end of the day, this is I like looking at a Dan Trachtenberg, and obviously I'm very close because I like that guy a lot. But listen to his commentary on 10 Cloverfield Lane. Here's a guy who got a chance, and at every turn is reflecting the attention away from him and onto the team that backed him up and the people that believed in him. And like, that is one of my favorite commentaries in years, because he is so transparent and lovable. And those are the people who do great things. The truth is, the people that I actually think are capable of making those great films. And look, yeah, you have your one-off, your James Camerons who are reportedly asshole, but I also don't think he's that great. Like, his movies to me always fall short in the places where they rest too much on him. If he's writing and directing and he's not a very good writer, in the end, his movies might look great but read terrible. And I trust a lot in somebody like Kathleen Kennedy, who's been doing this for a very long time, with the best people in the industry. Like, you have an opportunity. You need to really listen to somebody like that and respect that she has a lot of knowledge and can help you do something great. This feels very similar to a Josh Trank kind of thing. Where,
Absolutely.
You know, and this is also, to me, something that the studio needs to realize they do to themselves. They keep hiring these guys who did a little indie film and giving them a lot of money because they're cheap and they think they have a chance. You know, you're rolling the dice thinking like, well, maybe these guys are going to like really hit on something great and make us a lot of money. And sometimes they do. But at the same time, you know, the fact that the guys that have done it before are expensive is because they understand the business more.
And, you know, the directors that really started to do that, where they come from indies and started making people notice, are the Tarantinos, the Coens, and the Sam Raimis.
Sure.
Sam Raimi came from, I mean, I think
Soderbergh.
And Soderbergh. I think Raimi, his biggest movie was A Simple Plan.
Yeah.
And then he went and did Spider-Man. And what he did is he took what he brings visually and camera work wise and made Spider-Man Spider-Man. You can't, when Josh Trank ran into trouble in Fantastic Four, it's because he tried to make it something that it wasn't. And I don't have a problem with dark Fantastic Four if that's what they want to do.
Right.
But you have to be able to know your own limitations and reel it in.
And you know what? You also have to take the knots. And if your movie ends up being bad and you did everything you could, you have to believe you're going to be okay in the end. And you have to allow the audience to decide whether... I mean, in my opinion, I tend to see a lot of people defending a director when a movie feels like it was fucked with too much, you know? We hear that argument all the time. You have to trust that your audience is going to do that and not throw you under the bus. If that is what happened, it's very clear that's not what happened to Josh Trank.
No.
You know, it's pretty frustrating.
And you can't... Kathleen Kennedy sometimes is made out as the bad person in here. She's not a bad person.
Yeah.
I said it before. She's in charge of $1 billion studio.
Right.
Then the quote says it. What she says goes.
Right.
You have to understand that you are being hired to produce a vision, your vision, but in their rules.
Yeah.
You can look at someone, J.J. Abrams understood that with Star Trek and with Star Wars. He's going into Star Wars. He's like, this is, I know what people like. I'm going to hit on the similar beats, what people are aware of Episode 4. But I'm going to shoot them in a new, creative, fun way. And I'm not going to abandon what people come to expect from Star Wars, which is the biggest problem with the prequels.
Yeah.
Is the prequels have their moments, but they don't have enough Star Wars moments.
But he also is... His fingerprints are all over that movie. Right?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
he finds the places where he gets to
to
make his impact and go, look, I'm going to make a movie that is all about diversity, and I'm going to make these specific choices. And I'm sure there are things he wanted to do that he didn't get, but that's okay. I mean, Soderbergh is actually, in my mind, a really good example where here's a guy who, when he has his chance to do an Ocean's 11 and make a shit ton of money, he's going to do it. And then when he wants to go do his little vision and have all the control, he's going to go make The Girlfriend Experience on a very small budget. And if he's lucky and it's huge, like, the truth is that Christopher Nolan was very similar to that, right? Like, he went and did those big budget movies, made a lot of money, and then leveraged his success on the things that he really believed in and made something like a Prestige. And because that was successful too, now has carte blanche to do whatever the fuck he wants to do, right?
Absolutely.
He only got that from doing two things. One, being really good at his job, working well with the people around him, and then leveraging what he did have on something he believed in. If in a Trevor situation, right? If Book of Henry, and I have not seen it yet, but if Book of Henry was the Prestige, or even just good, I love Safety Not Guaranteed. If Book of Henry was as heartfelt and smart and fun as Safety Not Guaranteed, then that guy gets to keep doing whatever he wants, and people are going to listen to your opinion a lot more. But at the same time, and we all know how I feel about Jurassic World. Like, that guy to me doesn't have the clout to necessarily go be a dick about stuff.
Yeah,
and nobody should. I'm just saying, like, a Christopher Nolan, if he's on set and says, "Here's how I'm going to do it," no one's going to fuck with him. Because he's probably right.
There's a great interview on RealNerdsPodcast.com that we did with Michael Uslan,
who
is a producer of Batman since the '89 Batman.
Still doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on everything.
Yeah.
And he talks about why they. So we interviewed him at the first Denver Comic Con just before The Dark Knight Rises came out, and he mentioned that he said, what you look for is just someone who understands the character and is excited to make the film.
Yeah.
And with Chris Nolan, they got that person.
Right.
Because you can still see Chris Nolan in those pictures.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But it's still Batman.
Yeah.
And, that's what same with J.J. Abrams and Star Wars. That's what they need.
Yeah.
They can't have some dude who's hotshot in there. It's like, no, this is my vision. No,
Right.
it's not.
No. And especially in this part of the franchise. If you're making Rogue One and it's a standalone movie and you've got some stuff you want to do, and as long as you're not fucking with the greater picture, but in this case, here's the worst thing you could do. Have J.J. Abrams, who's great and works well with people and really loves this thing and it's a passion project and he works so hard to make this great film. And then you hire Rian Johnson, who from the sounds of it has done the exact same thing. Came in and there's something we already know, like there's an Easter egg about Brick in the movie somewhere. Like he worked his little stuff in here and there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's there to execute some of their vision and, got to write the fucking thing. So clearly has a lot of say. And if you gave that to somebody who then runs that into the ground, you're not just making a bad movie and taking a chance. You're shitting all over everything that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson and the teams that worked on those movies have done. You've got to respect all of that hard work because, especially in this case where it's the 9th one and you're ending this new trilogy, you better land that thing right and not spoil all of the goodwill of this story you've built.
And, too, just working together is the original ending of Force Awakens was when Rey was walking up the hill to meet Luke. BB-8 was with her,
right?
And Rian Johnson says, "Hey, can you make it R2?
Yeah,
because I have a plan for BB-8." And J.J. Abrams like, "Yeah, sure, I don't care.
Right?
If that's what you want and that's your vision, that's what the kind of like give and take you have to do." And
right.
And it's just a little example, and that's why we love J.J. Abrams.
And I will say, I was because I didn't care much for Jurassic World, that scared me. And the other thing is that Rian Johnson didn't write a treatment for 9. Which also really scares me because, Abrams wrote a treatment for Abrams wrote a treatment for 8 so that way like Rian Johnson had an idea of where things should go, but he obviously got to write the script, so it's gonna feel like Rian Johnson. And then my hope would be that same sort of thing, right? You work together and whoever is taking that mantle next, you work with that person and say like, here's where I'm going, here's what I was thinking. You get to take it and run with it. And I just always felt bad that like, oh man, this just doesn't sound like it's going where I want it to. I was gonna shut my mouth and wait till the movie came out, but I'm really glad that the guy's making the movie now.
I want to point out Henry called it in the car with me a couple weeks ago when we went to go see Good Time. He flat out said, "I think he's getting fired." He didn't mince words. He said that flat out.
Yeah.
I mean, Henry, correct me if I'm wrong, but
right. Yeah.
But I remember the conversation clearly. So
yeah.
This is again, man. Just
it's interesting and kind of exciting.
I know it sounds like I'm betraying the entire whole like filmmaker artist vision thing, but guys, guess what? It's a studio movie. It's a property that's been around for 40 years. Just play fucking ball.
But at the same time, it is a group thing.
Yeah.
You are the captain of a ship. You aren't the whole ship.
Yeah, you can't afford to be auteur theory on Star Wars. That doesn't fucking... Yeah. That's a no-no.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else we got, James?
Indiana Jones 5 is probably coming out in like maybe 2020.
And won't feature Mutt.
Probably won't have Shia LaBeouf in it. No one is surprised. I think that's like kind of all we have. Yeah. But I'll see another one.
Yeah. Oh no.
I keep
I'll
wanting to see more Indiana Jones.
I called out Zach for making fun of Crystal Skull. I told him rewatch it. It's not as bad as you think it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I haven't seen it since theaters, so we'll see. Yeah.
I rewatched it in a long time.
When did the Blu-ray set come out?
3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
I rewatched it then.
I remember. I rewatched it back then, and I have my problems with it. I also have things that like. If I watched it today, I would just make sure I wasn't paying attention at the time at certain moments. The monkeys are a big part of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of CG in that film. Yeah. My hope would be that if Steven makes it again, especially now that Lucasfilm is free, maybe we would get the movie we deserve. Yep. So I'll say it differently. maybe we would get the movie Indy deserves.
Ooh.
Speaking of things that Indy deserves, and that maybe we do, just look at this picture of Alicia Vikander as
I
Laura
love
Croft.
her.
Just fucking look at it. Okay, that's all. That's
I love
all
that
news.
woman.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
I've been in love with that woman since Ex Machina.
since I saw her completely naked.
No, because
No, I'm kidding.
she's so wonderful in that film.
Oh, she's great.
And then she's great in everything. I love
Yeah.
that woman.
It looks so. I'm so excited. I hope it is an Indiana Jones movie.
Right.
The Star Wars movies and the Marvel movies are getting officially pulled off of Netflix because Disney is, starting their own streaming service.
I don't have to worry about that because I buy physical copies of it.
Yeah, I know. I have everything. The only thing I don't have is Doctor Strange, which is a mistake.
That is a mistake.
But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. If the truth is, a Disney streaming service has a lot to offer and is its own, it's pretty clear what they're going to get you. So
I mean, if the Disney offers things that they would never put on like Blu-ray, or if they have like the vault,
yeah,
I would be super stoked.
Here's the thing: if you're a family,
oh yeah,
it's worth the money.
I agree.
It's like there's just so much stuff there.
Yeah, because
it's a really smart move on their part.
I mean,
it's brilliant.
And honestly, Kellen doesn't care if I stream. Cars.
Yeah.
Me, I'm like, I don't like it. It's not, the source isn't as good. I want to see like the glistening in the water, but
yeah.
For convenience, like my wife doesn't put discs in. She always streams. So yeah, I mean, if it's $8 and I get all the Disney I want, I'll definitely have it.
Yeah.
And I hope they just have cartoons. That'd be so awesome.
So the rights to distribute James Bond are sort of up in the air right now. Both Apple and Amazon have said like, hey, They both really want to spend a lot of money on it, and
give it to me. I'll distribute James.
The Broccoli family's like, yeah,
you'll ride your bike around.
I don't know who this young American is, but I trust him.
Anyway, it's a little bit interesting, and I don't know. Yeah,
it's so weird that Daniel Craig's doing it. I wonder how they got him. Boop, boop. Just put the money over there.
Yeah.
He's great. I love him as James Bond.
Yeah, I wish he would keep his fucking mouth shut when he's on set.
I heard he's always grumpy. That's why.
I love him as Joe Bang in Logan Lucky, which nobody saw, but is amazing. And
he's a great actor.
I want a Joe Bang spinoff, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully another James Bond movie is good. So that'd be great. To me, it feels like it's got that Star Trek thing. So where like every other movie for me is not very good. Yeah. So the next movie should be great.
Yeah,
we're on the uptick. So, and the very last thing I have is just how damn well it is doing at the box office. Holy shit,
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, sort of
biggest fall opening ever, biggest horror movie opening ever, biggest R-rated movie opening ever. No, Deadpool still has that one.
Yeah,
I think it's second.
Oh yeah,
R-rated from.
Yeah, it's pretty. To me, it's pretty shocking. I mean. I knew the trailers struck a nerve with someone as the most watched trailer in 24 hours in the history of YouTube.
Yeah.
But to see
all the marketing was amazing.
I'll talk about it later, but this movie is pretty fucking dark. And and to be embraced as a horror movie fan is pretty shocking to me.
I'll just say this. They got me to go see this movie.
Yeah.
And was kind of excited.
Yeah.
Was like, no, I need to go see this. This looks like it's going to be really good.
I have a full dissertation on the impact of this film.
Yeah.
I mentioned a few weeks ago when I saw Annabelle, and they had the opening scene to this film. Well, the opening Pennywise scene to this film.
An idea of how excited people were.
And when I watched it, and I'm watching people in the theater when I was watching Annabelle, it struck a chord with people.
Mm-hmm.
The part where he's like, and you smell what's it called? Popcorn! And people did that. And even when I was watching the film, people did that laugh.
Yeah.
Where they're scared.
They're super uncomfortable. And to me, actually, I'll talk about it in the review, but I knew that the movie was going to strike a chord with people when I saw that. Yeah.
And then they started releasing that scene online. I'm like, when people watch that, they're going to want to watch it.
Uh-huh.
And I mean,
and you're not revealing too much because it's literally the beginning of the movie. So and
if you've read the book, I think it's the first 20 or 30 pages of the book, if I can remember right.
Yeah.
But
plus, even if you haven't, it's a great way to get people's attention.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, it's a pretty cheap marketing campaign. You just got to buy a big bag of red balloons.
And I think if you were making this movie, or if I were making this movie, one of my big things is going to be, if you can get the clown to be scary, that's going to be the hard part because it is so absurd. And it's not 1990 anymore, and that you kind of have to convince people like, oh no, this is worth paying attention to. And so that's a really great showpiece for showing Bill Skarsgård because there's some great performance there.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh
talk about
shit,
later, but
this isn't to be fucked with. Like, this is really something to see. And I think that was a brilliant move on their part to show as much.
You want a balloon, Ryan?
Let me put it this way: there are other versions of like remakes and this kind of thing where you would have hid the creature or you would have hid the villain because, like, in a Darth Vader-esque way, like, you just need to hint at it and people will be excited. This wasn't one of those cases.
No.
This was a case where you needed to show it to people because otherwise they're going to just remember Tim Curry and be like, oh yeah, that was that silly thing, like whatever, you know.
We'll have to get into it later, but like the clown isn't the only thing, so it's like
Right.
it's the most prominent thing, so we can show that and not lose and not shoot our wad.
Agreed.
Yes. So yeah, stay tuned for our review. Little taste of it. We also like to talk about what movies we buy physically.
DVD releases and Blu-rays.
So you're
This is
saying
Blu-rays that are coming out.
That was so awkward.
So you're saying I should get physical with my discs?
Well, if your weenie can fit in it, do it.
So
I think the hole might be too big for
okay,
Ladies, he is single.
for a reason.
A whole lot of stuff this week, so we'll get started. E.T.'s getting a 4K release this week.
I can be terrified in crystal clear 4K.
Yeah,
It's
my
the
goodness.
James edition where it's E.T.'s entirely.
Blade Runner sitting on. I'm going to watch Blade Runner tonight in 4K. I'm really excited.
I think we might be talking about Blade Runner here in a little bit.
We might. It Comes at Night is out on Blu-ray this week.
Really want to see that movie.
Yeah, which looks really cool. I'm excited to get.
To
a
be
chance
clear,
to
that
see
is
it.
not an It prequel.
No, or sequel. The Mummy, the Tom Cruise film, is
I
getting
have
its
that
Blu-ray
coming.
release this week. Oh, do you?
Cool.
Such a wasted opportunity that he didn't run with bandages in his hand.
He did run a lot in it though.
This is one that I missed, so I'm kind of excited to get a chance to see it. It's got that lady from the Atomic Blonde in it.
Charlize Theron?
Nope. Captain Underpants, the first epic movie.
Yeah.
Which is a very ballsy way to title your film. But also, from what I've heard, was really good. So, yeah. Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Kellen liked it.
Yeah.
And that's all the certification we need, guys.
Oops. I had Mummy open twice. There's a movie called The Big Knife getting a release from Arrow Academy, which just kind of looks cool. It's some old Robert Aldrich movie.
Okay.
So maybe that. Silicon Valley Season 4 is out on Blu-ray this week, so you can check that out. That's a cool show. The Mummy Returns is getting a 4K Blu-ray release this week, though I didn't see the regular Mummy, or it may have been there. But Friday Night Lights is getting, the complete series is getting a Blu-ray release this week, which is an amazing show. If you have not ever had a chance to watch Friday Night Lights,
It's got Kyle Chandler in it.
Yeah, it's really good, man. He's so good. Dracula Untold is getting a 4K release, which I only talk about because that movie is kind of ridiculously okay.
I think it's pretty
that movie is pretty okay
until that very end. So I'm like, God, cinematic universe.
That's a thing that similarly Van Helsing is getting a Blu-ray release this week. And I closed it because I was like, well, yeah, but it's fucking Van Helsing, like whatever. I drug my mother to see that movie. She was furious, and I had already seen it. I should have known better.
That's fun.
It's one of those times I learned a lesson. But you know what you would love is Abbott and Costello's Meet the Mummy, which is getting a Blu-ray release this week.
Yeah.
If you're starting to hear a theme on the releases this week, it might not be. It might be obvious.
We call this week Mummy Dearest.
The 4K release of Get Out is this week as well. So if you didn't already buy the Blu-ray,
glad I held out. Now I can get it
you should.
way, so I'll
you
have
should jump
the best way possible.
I don't know if this is. I think this has had a Blu-ray release before. Primal Fear is out on Blu-ray this week.
I think it has, but I think it's bare bones. Maybe this has got features on it.
Yeah, this one looks kind of cool, and that's a neat movie that people should see. Okay, here comes the big run. So, are these? Oh yeah, they're Best Buy exclusive steelbook editions of The Mummy, the original The Mummy from 1932, Frankenstein in steelbook. The Bride of Frankenstein on steelbook, Dracula on steelbook, The Wolfman on steelbook, and The Creature from the Black Lagoon all on Steelbook.
I love that one.
I know.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one.
That's the best one.
You know,
The Invisible Man looks pretty great too.
Yeah.
I'm torn because
sorry, I missed that.
Ryan's wonderful Best Buy stories of the past couple of weeks. I really don't want to deal with them ever.
Oh yeah.
But I want that their thing, guys.
Yeah, that Creature from the Black Lagoon one is really cool. It's a very Jaws-esque looking cover with the legs and then the creature coming up underneath. So that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. This week, released from Arrow, is Eric the Conqueror, which looks kind of neat. Close. Hold on. There we go. When is this movie from? 1961. Eric the Conqueror. I don't know. It's just a cool old-looking poster. Poltergeist, the 2015 edition, or the 2015 film, is getting another release this week.
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's not that good.
I don't know. It like the cover here is kind of a cool cover, but it doesn't say anything. I'm not sure if it's a.
That kind of sucks, given the fact that Raimi produced it. But
yeah,
or is it? It's Ghost House's production company.
Yeah, it's a Raimi one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just
it's there.
It's there.
The second to last thing I have this week is the Scream Factory release of The Resurrected.
That's an old one.
Death used to be the end. And now it's just the beginning. Is this Ben Stiller?
No, it's Chris Sarandon.
Are you sure that's Ben Stiller? I'm pretty positive that's a painting of Ben Stiller.
I have seen this. It also stars Jane Sibbett, who I only know from Friends, played Ross's wife.
Oh, cool.
It's an all right movie. It's directed by Dan O'Bannon, who wrote Alien and directed Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
So you know it's
a little zany.
These crosses in the background look like there's plants on them. The like headstones in the back that are shaped like crosses. They've got like plants sitting on them, and it makes them look like weird stone cactuses. That doesn't play on the podcast, but it looks funny to me. And the most important thing isn't coming out this week, but I still want to talk about it so that everybody can pre-order their copy of Firefly, the complete series on Blu-ray. Because holy shit, this collector's edition looks amazing.
It's not that expensive. I think it's like $27.
It's $20 on Amazon right now. It's not this week. It's the week after this. It's the 19th. But holy shit. I did look through, because I thought I had heard that there was a 4K Serenity coming up. It's not that same week, or at least not on Blu-ray.com yet. But I'm sure we'll talk about it next week when we talk about all these again.
Remember to pre-order your Porky Pig. It's 101 5-disc DVD set. It's now dropped to $36 for pre-order, and it was originally $50. So guess who bit the bullet and pre-ordered?
Yep, I need more
based on Ryan's goading.
Yep, I know. I sent him a text with the screenshot. I'm like, you should probably just order it.
Yeah.
He's like, fine.
Oh, that's
Leave
cool.
me alone.
A lot of really, really good stuff this week, man. I would buy. I mean, there's things I didn't even talk about, like Hatari is getting a Blu-ray release, and yeah. Anyway, there's some cool stuff out there. So
cool. We also watch movies throughout the week in a segment we call "What You Been Watching."
So, yeah, this is the stuff we've been watching.
James, what'd you watch this week?
Man, it's actually been a while.
Been a while.
I'm trying to remember. Some of the bigger things I would say are last weekend I was up in the mountains. And got a chance to show Brooks, to my fiance, to show Brooks my whatever. Anyway, to show her Blade Runner.
Nice.
Because the new one is coming out real close to my birthday, and so since she's gonna have to go see it, I figured you should see this movie. Which was kind of nerve-wracking because it's one of those things where it's Blade Runner, and it's a weird movie that not everybody not appreciates, but whether or not I knew she was going to watch it and be like, yeah, that was pretty cool. Whether or not she watched it was like, yes, I actually enjoyed my time and don't, she really liked it. It was actually pretty funny. So spoilers for Blade Runner. But she knew nothing going in, nothing about robots. She was like Harrison Ford, and the cover's got an origami on it. That's all she knew, and some sci-fi. And so I prepped it with you need to know a few things about this. Anytime we're watching a movie together, I'm like, okay, directed by Ridley Scott, who I care a lot about, and he did these other things, right? So that's always kind of cool. Here's where he was in his career at the time.
James holds up a copy of A Good Year and goes, "This is his best work."
We don't talk about A Good Year. But there was a dark time. Anyway, and then I just told her a little bit about, like, okay, you're watching an edition, like, basically the movie has been cut a number of times. There's a lot of rockiness to this movie's story, but you're watching the correct edition of this film. And that's all she knew going in. And so afterwards, we're sitting there talking, and there were a couple of really great moments as we're watching it where, like, at one point she goes like, "Oh man, I really love how they're, like, I want to know how they're doing this thing where they're making, like, her eyes, like, reflect red, you know, the way that, like, some animals do." And she's like, "But it's funny because every now and then they screw up, and Harrison Ford's will do it too." And I was silent, did not say a word,
Just like going like.
Yeah, I know. And so the end of the movie happens, and we're sitting there talking, and she was like, "Yeah, that was really interesting. Like, this was cool," and blah, blah, blah. And we're sort of talking about sort of the existential questions about, like, you know, here's these people who are robots, and, you know, they're just so realistic. And we're talking about how amazing that last speech from Rutger Hauer is. And here's this moment when this guy who's been your villain the whole time, and yeah, he's done bad things, but he has this incredibly human moment at the end. And somewhere along there, she finally makes this comment where she's like, "Yeah, because, I mean, you know, how does Harrison Ford know that he's not a robot?" And there was just quiet. And she looked at me and she goes, "Oh shit!" Like, because she could see on my face that she had hit it, and I was like, "Okay, so here's the thing about Blade Runner." And then I, of course, went through the whole story of, like, okay, so here's and they shot that scene, and then Harrison Ford was like, "Fuck you, Ridley," and you know, and that's when I think she realized, like, this is why you care about this movie. And I, you know, afterwards, it's interesting because it's one of those films that, you know, I've spent the last 15 years studying this movie, and I'll watch every YouTube video I can about it. And so it's almost one of those unfair things, and it's always a struggle when you watch a movie that you are passionate about that way with somebody, because you want them to have that pretty pure first experience. Yeah. But at the same time, once they open the door, you're like, well, I interviewed the guy who literally wrote the book on Blade Runner. So let me tell you about all the things that Paul M. Salmon told me, right? Like, it's really hard to not just, like, unload all of this stuff.
It is always scary. Every time I show someone Army of Darkness, it's like,
right.
Are they going to get it like I get it?
Right.
Do they understand this movie isn't serious?
And even if they get, like, your hope is that they just get it enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're never going to want, like, nobody's ever going to watch, especially, right, like, one of the other ones coming up is going to be when she and I finally watch Kingdom of Heaven together, which is a tall ask, because the truth is, if I do it right, I want her to watch the 4-hour cut of Kingdom of Heaven. And when that movie's over, I'm going to want to sit down and talk about why that movie is so important to me. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a 2-hour conversation about what that movie means to me and how important it was in my life at that time, and these little things about what you know, and I should just write the book at some point. These little things about how watching Ridley Scott go through all of this stuff has been really important to me. But it's just, it can be. You no one's going to get to the goal that first time when it's something like that you have studied brilliantly. Hey, Zach, I heard you saw Blade Runner.
Who told you?
Anyway, that's
who squealed?
What I was leading up to was...
yeah, so I saw Blade Runner for the first time.
How did you like it?
Well, to preface it really quickly, so you loaned me the Blu-ray a while back,
right?
But I never got around to watching it.
Yeah.
And so I gave it back to you, saying, like, when I'm ready, I'll let you know. Well, the 4K restoration got done, and they decided to screen it at the Alamo Drafthouse in Littleton. I don't know if I think they did Sloan's Lake too. But I decided, like, oh fuck, well, it's only going to cost me $10, and I can see it in 4K and on a big screen, and then I can always say, yeah, I saw Blade Runner on a big screen. And so, like, I long story short, I ended up going with Brad because there was a mistake involving our situation.
That's all right.
But so Brad and I went. So I get it. I get why you like it. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I'm not this movie's biggest fan.
Sure.
And I think there's the reason why is because before I saw Blade Runner, I saw a bunch of movies that were inspired by Blade Runner.
Oh yeah,
and some of them I can't really think of any offhand in particular.
Every sci-fi film after?
not everyone.
No, but it's 100% true, right?
But like
Minority Report.
Yeah, Minority Report, or like
Total Recall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Total Recall. But like because
Paycheck. I'm just kidding.
AI.
Actually,
I was trying to do iRobot. Yeah. So
also
me walking into it, I kind of like. When the story kicked in with the prologue,
Fifth Element.
Oh, that's don't compare trash to
but
treasure.
No, also true though. Anyway, sorry,
I'm just pointing out all the movies it's influenced.
Yeah. But so anyway, when the title crawl opens up with like this is the future and this is what's going on, I'm like, oh, it's one of these movies.
Atomic
Okay,
Blonde.
But that's the thing. Like,
fuck yeah. Sorry,
I have to point out that like the reason this movie doesn't impact me the way it does other people is because I should have watched it before I watched everything else.
Yep.
Because I didn't appreciate it on the onset for what it achieved at the time.
Yeah.
As a film, it's a tight sci-fi story that's got it's solid performers, especially Rutger Hauer.
Hell yeah.
I mean, Ford's good, don't get me wrong, and but just Hauer is incredible. Daryl Hannah's really good in this movie too, for fuck's sake. And the 4K restoration looked beautiful. Like the visual effects fucking hold up brilliantly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's as if Ridley Scott knows what he's doing. And I liked it, and then I liked it enough that I can say yes, it is essential viewing. I don't know outside of Blade Runner 2049 when I'm going to watch it again.
Sure.
Because I think it's a different type of commitment that I'm not used to sit down and watch it for some reason, because there's parts of it that feel like a tone poem to me. There's like I like silent cinema enough, but there's long stretches of silence where it's like it's forcing you to sit down and interpret what's going on. Like you're not being spoon-fed anything by Ridley Scott in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Which leads me to the ending. So this movie ended for me one of two ways. One, he's a replicant, or he's not. But I think because of that, and because the final cut is his definitive version, it gives me worries about what Blade Runner 2049 is going to be.
Oh,
and
totally
the only
disagree.
and the only reason that I am so confident in its ability to prove me wrong is because I've been hearing that it's been screened for people and people love it. But two is that I trust Ridley Scott enough to have motivated Denis Villeneuve to take the story where it should go. But again, like, I think it's stronger technically if Deckard is a replicant, because it's a self-aware story. Like, it becomes a movie about being self-aware. If he's not a replicant, though, it's still a good movie, because then it means that he's found a way to like consume his life in a more healthier fashion. But I thought it was a good film. I just don't think it's as special to me as it is to other people.
Oh,
I'm glad I saw it, though.
Yeah.
And also, there's this, the final speech Rutger Hauer gives of "I seen things that you people wouldn't believe."
Oh, so good.
The first time I ever saw that clip,
tears and rain.
in anything, was on the Daily Show when Jon Stewart was making up fake names for CNBC shows. And one of them was "How are your stocks doing?" with Rutger Hauer, and like and he shows that clip, and then it follows up with Jon Stewart going like, "I guess that's a sell." So that was my introduction to Blade Runner, was Jon Stewart. Wow. So yeah, I would say go watch Blade Runner, especially if you're going to go to 2049, because I think if you walk into 2049 without seeing the first Blade Runner, you're going to be scratching your head for a good chunk of that movie. My theory.
The thing I will say is that while Ridley Scott is very firm that he's a replicant, I will argue till the day I die that he's wrong. That the film itself does not tell you whether he's a replicant or not. All it does is ask the question, give you hints one way or the other, and as a result, opens the real point of the film for the last 30 years has been that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you should come to is, or not that it completely doesn't matter, but it should ask that question of, when technology gets to a point where that line is blurred, it's supposed to swing you back the other way and realize that Rutger Hauer is not your terrible villain and that there's a lot more to it. Like, it's supposed to, unsettle you to some degree. Now, it's very obvious that they have to go with he's probably a replicant version in the next film, or just leave the question open, because it's, what you see, having now seen the movie, when you go watch that trailer and there's that moment where Ryan Gosling shows up and says, like, I have some questions to ask you, that sentence means so much more when you've seen Blade Runner, because you know what he really means. And so very quickly, the plot of Blade Runner 2049 of, here's this guy who might be a Blade Runner, or might be a replicant, and is still alive, and has gotten old, and what that would mean to that universe, and asking that question. And maybe whether it's that they say yes early on, and then that's the plot of the movie, or the question is that he also doesn't know, because we also don't know that Rachel has a 4-year lifespan on her.
Right.
We know that about Rutger Hauer's character, but what's his face?
Sean Young?
No, well, yeah, but oh gosh, the corporation whose name I now can't remember.
Tyrell
Tyrell doesn't say that she does. He's got her sitting around, like, he clearly made her special. It's entirely possible that she doesn't have that lifespan on her, and what that would mean for the world. I'm not terribly concerned about it. I will also just say that movie, because I agree with you, that was one thing that I left out, that I sort of prefaced it with, this is something that you should know. You're going to watch Blade Runner, and you got to put yourself in that point of view that no one had seen this before, right? Like, what Ridley Scott and Douglas Trumbull and everybody who worked on the visual effects of that movie did, and just creating this world that feels so lived in and dirty and real, like, was this amazing watershed moment for science fiction visually, that you just have to watch it and at least be able to appreciate, like, oh, okay, cool, this is really important. And I would argue so many people have tried to steal, and so few people have succeeded.
I agree, and, like, the sad part was that as I was watching it with that mind frame, I was also watching it with the other mind frame, and so it kind of created a conflict of interest. But a side note, though, between Blade Runner and Gladiator, Ridley Scott is really good at shooting scenes where sons kill their fathers. I'm just saying.
Prometheus.
Yeah, Prometheus. I'm just saying, and he does it with a high angle.
Actually, the other way, but yeah.
He does it in a high angle in the corner,
yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, man, like, he's just obsessed with this image. I don't know if he has multiple paintings that he does in his basement that are dedicated to this scenario, but he's really good at it, man.
If you want to hear a great interview with a historian of Blade Runner, go to Real Nerds Podcast and look under the archives. In the Telluride Horror Show, we interviewed the guy who wrote the definitive book on Blade Runner, and he talks to James about...
That is not Philip K. Dick?
No. No. He didn't write the definitive version of Blade Runner.
No. I would also point out, you should go, a few years ago, Harry Knowles from Ain't It Cool News got to do a pretty long interview with Douglas Trumbull. Had him on, I think, 2 different videos with Douglas Trumbull. It was a fantastic interview. You should go talk to that guy. If you don't know who he is, he's the guy who the whole closing section of 2001 with all the lights, shooting towards you and all that, which is all done actually in camera. He's the guy who made that happen and figured out how to do all that. Absolutely incredible genius. Big fan of, like, high frame rate photography, but still really interesting interview. You should go check it out.
Cool.
Sorry. And I also, the only other thing I want to talk about is that Rick and Morty is back. First season's like 5 episodes in. And
did you get Swifty?
It's maybe the best so far. Like,
did you like
obviously
Pickle Rick?
Half of it's funny. Everybody talks about Pickle Rick. Pickle Rick is a great episode. Where in that episode, Rick, in order to avoid going to therapy, turns himself into a pickle. And then the family gets mad at him and leaves him there, having taken the antidote with them. And so he spends the rest of the episode, like, as a pickle, building himself like little robotic arms so that he can fight off an army of rats that are trying to eat him because he's a pickle. And it's ridiculous, but what is great about Rick and Morty, as dumb as it may seem on the surface, like, you know, this season's really fucking dark, and like the emotional stuff that they're dealing with. I mean, even that, right? Like he's avoiding therapy, turns himself into a pickle, and then the result is all of this shit he goes through simply because he's not willing to sit down and have a conversation with his daughter and her kids.
Mm-hmm.
Is like this really dark and twisted thing. This season's been amazing. I think they're 6 episodes in, and it's just wonderful. So I don't know, go watch some Rick and Morty.
I've seen the first 2 seasons. I like it enough to continue it.
Yeah, that's great.
Zach?
So outside of who do androids dream of electric sheep, Volume 1. They should have just called it that because it's. I think
really good
I think
title.
Blade Runner is a good title. I think Androids and Electric Sheep is an even cooler title.
Yeah.
So aside from that, though, I rewatched Quiz Show because it was on Netflix, and dude, Redford. I guess I haven't really dissected Redford as a director the way I've seen him as an actor, and he's really fucking good, guys.
He's pretty good.
I don't know if you know this. I need to rewatch Ordinary People and probably The Natural again to.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah. But Quiz Show, what I love is like, and I listed my reasons on Facebook is like, one, he makes John Turturro both incredibly sympathetic and incredibly terrible all at one moment. In one particular scene where he's dealing with the main FBI agent, he's working for a subcommittee that's investigating the Quiz Show. The other is that like, he takes a point in history that isn't talked about and reads it to you as if though it is an essential textbook read that you must read in order to pass your high school class. But 3, and this is gonna, I don't know if it's gonna unnerve James or not, but so Martin Scorsese plays a role in the movie, and I think in a strange way his role is the most important part of the third act, because he has a scene with the subcommittee investigator where he lays down essentially what television sponsorship is, how television works, especially in that era, and breaks down the point of the story for you without spoon-feeding you anything. He says it as bluntly as he can without, like, giving you a picture book with pop-up images, you know? And it could have probably gone to any actor who looked like a sleazeball, like, I don't know, like the fucking... the guy who played the detective, the sleazeball detective in Batman 89 or whatever. But the bottom line is, it's coming from Scorsese, is that his delivery of that is so effective because he's slowing down his speech because he usually talks very fast, but 2 is just like he's drawing a line between lack of empathy and like lack of humanity, like between one and the other side, and I think he's like delivering it in such a way that you're not really noticing it on the onset, but if you rewatch it, I think you'll see that Scorsese, one of the reasons he's a great director is because he might also be a really good actor too.
He's been around a lot of them.
And yeah, and sure. Well, that's true. But I think that putting him in the role, I wouldn't have expected it, but it works. Like, and I think part of it is like the people who are going in and know who he is. It's a treat for them, but then you also get to see how like Redford makes the decision of like, let's take somebody who's experienced at this job of making entertainment and put him in the position to reveal to everybody, like, yeah, we're fucking around with you, because that's pretty much what the business does sometimes. In this case, being the 1960s. So it's a great movie. It's still on Netflix. I really recommend you check it out with a new eye. And it was also nominated for Best Picture back in '94, so it's among the best films of that year according to the Academy. So if you need that inspiration,
as much as I love A River Runs Through It, like Quiz Show is the best thing he's made, I think. Now I still haven't seen The Conspirator, but it didn't make a huge splash.
Ordinary People's really good too.
Yeah,
but I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, but it's very good.
But Quiz Show is, and some of it is just a Quiz Show is the kind of movie that I like, you know.
Right.
That film is great. So cool. Anything else?
No. Yes, I have a couple more others. So I watched Angels with Dirty Faces again. It's a James Cagney, Pat O'Brien movie from 1938, directed by Michael Curtiz, who also directed Casablanca. And I think that's among the so like I love The Petrified Forest, and I know we've talked about it before, which was Humphrey Bogart's like big break. Mm-hmm. I think Angels with Dirty Faces is technically the best gangster movie to come out of that era. Because, and I think James would like it more than most people. Because like, well, one, it's got a faith element to it. It's got a spiritual, religious element to it, which is very strong in the script. And it walks a certain line with morality. It's also very well acted, very well directed. It's probably like next to Petrified Forest, it's my favorite gangster movie to come out of that era because it's that strong, and I think it's my favorite Jimmy Cagney performance of all time, certainly.
Cool.
So went ahead and watched that. I started watching the first season of Taxi because I got the DVD from work. I've always watched Taxi, but I've never like been the biggest fan. So I watched
just like sit down and pay attention.
Yeah, so I'm watching it, and I love Andy Kaufman's Latka, obviously, and that's all well and fine. But Danny DeVito's great on that fucking show. You know, there's a reason why he's still why when I watched Zoe Sunny in Philadelphia, I can make the connection back and go like he's always been this good. There's that going for it. I rewatched Salem's Lot in honor of Tobe Hooper. Yeah, I know. I'm getting that look from you. I actually like it a lot.
It's all right. I mean, for a TV movie.
Yeah, for a TV movie where they can't do a lot of what they should be doing.
That was made for TV?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize
But it was so well received that it was packaged together and released theatrically in Europe.
Oh, okay.
So it technically has it's weird. It's kind of like an Ingmar Bergman situation.
I don't like the 90s either.
I haven't seen that one. But I'm kind of curious now just on the Tim Curry performance, not necessarily everyone else, especially to compare it to Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, when you go back and like just look at any screenshot from that thing, you're like, this is so 90s TV.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any money here.
Yeah. And the only other thing that I watched this week was Silence. Martin Scorsese's Silence.
Great! How did you like Silence?
Okay, so
you're wrong.
Last week... well, I'm going to go right off the bat and say I think this is among Scorsese's masterpieces.
Good job.
Now, here's the thing. I think all three of his spiritually based films have been masterpieces.
Cool.
Because of the way he approaches religion, is that A, he's not pandering to any audience.
Agreed.
Is one element of it. I mean, and again, I really want you to watch Last Temptation of Christ at some point.
I will.
So that you can dissect that and how it compares to Silence, especially because the way Silence is about two Jesuits who are sent off to Japan to reclaim one of their other pastors. I'm trying to remember like exactly what their title is, but
he's a priest.
He is a priest who has apparently recanted his faith.
Yeah,
and so they go to seek him out, and what ends up happening is it goes through more or less 2 hours of Christian torture porn. But
that's what Henry called it. I feel like that's a little bit.
But unlike something
unfair.
like The Passion of the Christ, there is purpose behind every action that is going on that benefits the story.
And I almost in a worse way, the torture to me is more emotional than it is like. While you see people get tortured, it is not quite as brutal as certainly as Passion of the Christ.
Right,
it's not
but it's more psychologically effective. I think that Andrew Garfield is amazing in this film, and I think the ending is incredible because there's a character, and I can't remember his name, but he essentially betrays Garfield and Driver's character
over and over again,
and he keeps asking to get forgiven.
Yeah,
and by the time we get to the end, spoiler alert, Garfield says flat out, "I can't because I'm not a priest anymore."
Yeah.
But what it says within those moments is that it's kind of goes back to Kevin Smith in Dogma, which is like it's kind of not doesn't matter what you believe in as long as you have faith to a degree. But also like the idea that he's crying out for an answer of should I recant for the sake of saving other people? Or is that the ultimate blasphemy is to give up in the face of danger? I think there's so much going on in this film. I definitely want to watch it again. Liam Neeson's great in it too. I mean, he's pretty minimal in the movie, but when he's on screen, he's effective.
Yeah.
The Japanese actors are great too. I mean, sadly, I don't remember their names, but
yeah.
Driver's really good too. I mean, like, you know, it's got a solid cast.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, amongst the most beautifully shot Scorsese movies. The only other one in terms of like its beauty that I would compare it to might be The Aviator or Kundun. And maybe Last Temptation of Christ, but like it's clear that like sadly this probably should have been nominated for more Oscars, but I'm glad it did get the nomination where it got it, which is cinematography.
Yeah.
So that that's kind of like a nice consolation prize. I think it's good. I think you should check it out. I ordered the Blu-ray right after watching it because I just knew I'm just going to rewatch this film.
Yeah, I mean that whole story with Kichijiro, the guy who keeps betraying them. I mean, that on its own is just this beautiful sort of story of grace where, like, every time Kichijiro comes back, like, he keeps blessing him, but, like, he wrestles with it a different way each time, right? Because, like, he is this vessel, and, like, that story is wonderful, and I think part of why I love it so much is that it, and why I appreciate what Scorsese does here is, like, he treats it with a like a weight, like a realism, and makes the doubt be something really tangible, that I think is just beautiful. I mean, like that, he puts that character in a situation where there is genuinely no good answer, and when you hear, I don't want to say too much, but when he gets some direction on where he should go and what he should do, it is this beautiful release.
Yes.
And what that means, like, it's something to wrestle with. And like, that's not a movie that gives you answers. And I'll be completely honest, it's a movie that to me is far more powerful than something like Passion of the Christ can ever be. Unfortunately, because that's a movie that has something to say and is very specific. You know, the best moment of Passion of the Christ is the moment at the beginning in the garden where Jesus is in doubt and the devil shows up and you're like, oh, this is great. And then the rest of the movie is just what it is. This is a movie that honestly lives in that first 10 minutes. Like it is just painful and questions, and it's beautiful.
And that's why I furthermore will state again that you need to watch Last Temptation of Christ, because I think you'll get the movie you're talking about almost to a T.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you are dealing with a story that is ultimately a big what if.
Oh yeah, of course.
But the way he handles the what if, first of all, is mostly near the end of the film. But this film deals with what you're talking about, the potential of Passion of the Christ, in a much more realistic way.
Yeah.
And I feel that Scorsese does this a lot in his films, where he deals with these questions that are hard to answer on the most basic level. And he's done it with a lot of films. Like Goodfellas kind of does it too, to an extent, with Henry Hill coming to terms with the fact, especially near the end, that he's going to have to live the rest of his life as a schmuck. And like in other places, even The Aviator does it too. And the Shutter Island does it and telegraphs it very directly. So, but yeah, and then, other than that,
oh my God,
watched a little bit of Jack Benny, and that was it. So,
are we done talking about fucking Jesus?
Whoa!
No, we're not.
Apologize to my mother.
I'm sorry,
done.
Carol.
I'm not done talking about how I'm fucking Jesus.
Whoa! Whoa. God, man, what the? Why do I hang out with y'all?
Come and get me.
Anyway,
because we're
cool.
awesome.
Ryan, what'd you watch this week?
Well, I'm gonna go back a little bit. I watched a few things. I watched the new Adam Scott movie on Netflix called Little Evil. It's directed by the guy who did Tucker and Dale.
It's got my lady in it. It's
got
Evangeline
Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah.
It's not that good. Unfortunately, there are some funny bits in it. The basic premise is Adam Scott plays a stepdad whose kid is the Antichrist.
Cool.
And in these moments, I'm supposed to set up that it's funny. It's really just not that funny.
Oh.
I like Evangeline Lilly in it. Evangeline Lilly, because she plays the mom who's kind of oblivious to it all, and so she kind of lives in this bubble.
Yeah.
and it's funny. And they have this really funny, like, stepdad group therapy scene with all these great comedians in it. And this one is talking about how his stepson took a shit in the top drawer of his dresser, but how it was situated, it was like he was grabbing onto the mirror and shitting into it and looking at himself while he was shitting. The way he describes it's really funny. The rest of the movie, though, is actually, I was pretty disappointed because I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And this one is just, and there's some funny parts in it, but I was disappointed.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah. So that one was all right. I also watched a movie called Vicious Lips, which is a Scream Factory release with these punker rock chicks who are picked to do a gig all the way across the galaxy, and they have to get there, and on their way there, their rocket ship breaks down. So the cover of it, I bought solely on the cover. And on it, there's like this monster who's in the foreground, and he's like making like Hulk flexing thing, and in between it's these like punk rock chicks who have guns.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh fuck yeah, they're gonna crash on a planet and just shoot monsters. Nope. They crash on this planet, and there's some vampire monster thing that's always banging on like the door to get out, and he gets out underneath, and there's like tons of shots of him running through the bowels of the ship and just going while the girls like infight. So what I loved about Streets of Fire definitely isn't the same thing with Vicious Lips.
Oh, okay.
I will say this though about it. It is kind of fun because it's so stupid. The music in it is actually not that bad. And I always love movies that take place in the future, but they're firmly stuck in the 80s. The girls have big poofy hair and wearing shoulder pads, and the dude is wearing a tie that has a diamond on it. It's just, it's an all right movie. It's produced. I don't know if you know who Charles Band is, but he's a really big like B movie producer, kind of like Roger Corman. And he ran a company called Empire, and he went on to do Full Moon, which is a horror, and he does Puppet Master and things like that now. I love his Subspecies series. It's like maybe that and Castle Freak are maybe the most serious and best movies he made. But he had this company called Empire, and there's maybe a 15-minute interview with him on this disc.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the movie. And he says, "Yeah, we used to make movies just to get funding for them, because I mean, maybe $1 million to make this movie. What they would do is they hire an artist to make a poster and come up with a name, and then we'd write a movie around it.
Sounds like canon.
So it worked because I literally bought this movie because I thought the cover was awesome. The movie's all right. Nothing great, nothing too bad. It just kind of exists in a hokey 80s world.
Right.
So it was all right. I also watched The Love Witch, which is the movie that Brad and Henry talked about a witch, and it has like a 70s aesthetic to it.
Cool.
The movie's okay. Now, I agree with Brad. I think it looks really nice, but it's 2 hours long and it feels like it's 3. And not that the performances are bad. It looks great. It's just the pacing's bad in it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a disappointment. I watched Baywatch, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And
I like The Rock.
yeah, he's great in it.
I like what's her face?
Yeah,
I like
Alexandria Daddario. She's great in it.
Yep.
I
I like the short guy, Zac Efron.
Yeah.
The short guy.
Well, he's next to The Rock. Everybody's short.
Yeah. So the movie's actually pretty funny,
Okay.
but it's just it doesn't come together. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yes.
It's not as tightly
Yeah,
assembled as maybe a 21 Jump
Yeah,
Street.
where
Yeah.
it tries to be like 21 Jump Street, and it's directed by Seth Gordon, who did Pineapple Express, and I think he's a good director, but I also think his movies do tend to like ramble a little bit, and this movie kind of suffers from it. But they do have like some great moments where, it has a lot of self-awareness to it, which sometimes really works really well. Like they keep on trying to solve this murder, and the police and city council are like, dude, you guys are lifeguards. You're not supposed to do this. And that's like a running joke throughout the movie. Like, you're just lifeguards. Lifeguards don't have any jurisdiction. And that's funny. The funniest little bit in it, I was telling James about earlier, is so The Rock, obviously wears like the red shorts, and in his fish aquarium at his house, Zac Efron has to stay there because he has nowhere to live. And in it, in the fish aquarium, he's in the red shorts and riding the dolphin. It's like a fish aquarium decoration. And then Zac Efron's broom is behind this fish aquarium, and when he goes in there and he looks at it again, it's the change to him like looking through binoculars at him, but it's still like a fish ornament. And then The Rock gets fired from being a lifeguard, and he works at a Sprint store, the cell phone company.
Yeah.
And when you go back, he walks by the aquarium, and it's The Rock in a Sprint store outfit. It's just like, it's so stupid, but it's really funny.
That's funny.
Co-produced by Eli Roth, by the way.
Yeah, and written by the guys who wrote Freddy vs. Jason. It's all right. I mean, it's fun. Whatever. My in-laws got me a gift card for Best Buy for my birthday, and I bought it with it, so I was like, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Nice. No sweat off my back.
I was actually really like excited about it at the beginning of the year.
I'll let you borrow it. It's
okay
because it's not bad, but it's not great.
Yeah, it was just like when the trailers came out, it was one of those where like I'm watching the trailers going like, none of these jokes look amazing, and I feel like the best things are here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you get the more of the motherfuckers and stuff like that, and The Rock. I mean, The Rock's great in it.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it funny. That
No,
just makes,
I mean, there's a thing where they're trying out the new lifeguards and they have to complete this course, and Zac Efron plays this Olympic gold medalist, and he's like, "Man, I can do that in my sleep." And The Rock's like, "That's not our course," and so it's like this course where they're like carrying 2 refrigerators down. It's like totally dumb. It's just fun. I think The Rock's great when he's just being
Goofy.
The Rock amplified. So it's fun. And the last thing I watched Batman and Harley Quinn, which I actually really enjoyed. It was really funny, and I actually laughed pretty hard at it.
Is that that's a recent animated
Yeah, it's
one?
the new DC animated one.
Cool.
Melissa Rauch plays Harley Quinn, and she does really well.
Cool.
Kevin Conroy's back as Batman, and Nightwing is in it as well, the guy who's played Robin in the animated series. Lauren something. In it, they enlist Harley Quinn to help them stop Poison Ivy and the Florentine Man from turning the world into plants. And so Nightwing has to find Harley while Batman's trying to figure out what's going on. And he runs into her, and she ties him up after they have the street fight, and they end up having sex. And Batman walks in, and he's like looking at him. He's looking at like the handcuffs on the bed, and he's looking at clothes all over the place. And Nightwing says, "Oh, come on, like you've never slept with a villain before." I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny.
My goodness.
And there's like Harley Quinn fart jokes in it. And she farts in the Batmobile, and Batman says, "If you ignore it goes away." And then she farts again. He's like, "That's pretty bad." And he opens up like the window.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty dorky. It's fun. You can tell it's written by Paul Dini because
he's got a sense of humor.
He has a sense of humor, and the Harley Quinn and the Poison Ivy stuff is pretty great.
Cool.
I liked it more than Henry and Brad. I thought it was really funny.
Okay.
So if you're looking for lighthearted stuff, it's definitely a way to go. And
I really quickly, one thing I forgot, I watched The Conjuring 2 for the first time. Because I didn't see it in theaters. I may have to talk about it again after I've rewatched the first Conjuring, which I own. But I may have an argument in me that Conjuring 2 might be superior to the first one. But again, I'll rewatch it and then we'll try it next week.
what I like about The Conjuring 2 is it lets the characters breathe.
That's
I think it's
part of my defense.
I think it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
Wow. No, it's 2 hours and 10. I checked.
2 hours 10.
Yeah, but it's still long.
It's long, but I mean, when does a horror start? Maybe an hour into the movie?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Roughly.
Besides the opening Amityville scene, but
no. I'm gonna say like maybe about 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah, because they let you get to know the characters because the Warrens go away for that while where you get to know the girls and stuff.
Yeah.
And what I love about the Conjuring movies, well, the first one kind of, but the second one is they actually play with the fact that this might not be real.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cool to see.
They especially do it in the second one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you're texting me that the scene with the nun is amazing.
Yeah, and specifically, it's Lorraine is seeing visions in her own home in America, and she's like carving, and she's like walking through her office, and her husband Ed has already done a painting of the nun earlier in the film, and it's hanging on a wall I think it's either hanging on the wall or on the canvas. Anyway,
it is, because remember, it pans across.
That's right.
And then you come back and she's gone.
Yeah, and so it does this beautiful thing where it plays with your expectations with the painting, and then it flat out turns into hyperdrive mode in such a way.
That's why James Wan's amazing. He understands, I think, pacing really well in horror films.
And he knows how to, like, toy with you a little bit
in
a good way.
The Nun makes an appearance in Annabelle Creation.
And apparently it's getting a spin-off, too.
It is. They're filming it right now.
Yeah.
And the Slender Man in that one is getting one, too.
Oh, it's the...
or what's his name?
The Crooked Man. The Crooked Man. The Crooked Man who lives in the Crooked House.
So a lot of people think that's CGI. It's not CGI. Can you believe that?
I couldn't.
You have to watch the special features. It's pretty amazing.
But, well, see, the thing I was on is, like, when I saw it, I was like, this is probably really good CGI set up to look like the Babadook.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of, like, studied it a little bit frame by frame, and I'm like, this is probably practical.
I think it might be online. I don't think it's on the disc. You should check it out. It might be an article. Just type in the Crooked Man.
That guy's not CGI?
No.
It's straight up nightmare. It's straight up nightmare fuel, man.
Yeah.
It's done well.
We might,
it's all prosthetics and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up because I love James Wan. I love the Conjuring stuff. So
that'd be great.
And it leads into what we might be talking about here in a second.
Cool. This week on Real Nerds Podcast, we saw It.
We did.
Zach, should people see It?
Yes, I think you should just float on by to your theater and go check it out. Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. Is that cue? No, I think yes, go see it. I love the movie. I think it is. This year is so hard because there's a lot of good movies that have come out this year. This might have eligibility for the list, but, and we're going to discuss it later, I think this is among the most important movies to be released this year. And we'll talk about it here in a minute. I think in a way, sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go if you're still going.
I think I feel about this film the way James feels about Arrival.
Wow.
But
you best get ready to defend, sir, because this movie is shit. No, this fucking movie is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, people should go see it. It's funny because, like,
it's funny?
Fuck off.
It is funny.
It is funny.
Yeah.
This is a movie that, of course, like, is not for James on the surface, but this is totally a movie for James. By the time it was over, like, I don't find it to be terribly scary. There's definitely some really intense moments, and there's some imagery that I think would be really disturbing. I think this really ends up sort of turning into a really emotional adventure film that, in my mind, plays closer to a Super 8 than anything else, which similarly has scary moments. They're not as visually disturbing, right? But, and it's a lot more tense than that. So please don't misunderstand me. This movie is not for people who can watch Super 8. This is a rated R horror film, like with imagery that will scare kids. But as an adult, I watch it and absolutely love these characters, love the kids. The reason this movie, for me, sets itself apart is that this is a film that really is trying to say something, and honestly got me a little bit emotional by the end. I mean, we'll spoil it later, but there's a couple of really great, heart-wrenching and beautiful moments near the end of the film that, despite the fact that you have this crazy clown running all over the place, being silly and weird, and having lots of teeth, you still end up going like, man, this is something that has something to say, and as a story that I think most people will carry with them a lot longer. So I would certainly agree. This in years to past, there's usually been like one horror movie from the year that works its way into my list, and there's certainly no reason to say that this wouldn't be it.
Yeah,
Ryan, should people see it?
Ryan, do you want a balloon?
I actually think this is one of the best movies of the year. In so much, not for the horror element's great, but when I read reviews of this, I got really excited because if you listen to our Film Explosion 87, you'll know that my favorite film from that year is The Monster Squad, because I love the interplay with the kids and their love for the horror. This, to me, is an R-rated version of The Monster Squad.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Where the kids are so close and so tight that no matter what happens in the film, you care about the kids because you don't want anything bad to happen to them because they feel real. They feel like they're real friends. I mean, hell, I was probably part of the Losers Club when I was in school.
Right.
I was never...
I was their president.
There's so many... I mean, I even shed tears when they introduced Ben because, like, he's this cute little chubby kid. and he meets.
It's
he meets
so
Don't
adorable.
spoil it, please. Not
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, really. Well, at least
Is
wait
that
till the
is that-
trailer.
Is that a
Just
spoil?
wait till the trailer. Yeah,
Kinda, yeah.
Because I think if you're somebody who's on the fence, like me, right? I've never read the book, never seen the original. I know genuinely, I did not know that kid was in this movie because he's not in any of the marketing. So when that story is introduced, honestly, and her, both of them were so refreshing and beautiful that I would say
Okay.
If
I'm
you're
in
on the
same
fence
boat
and
with
you're
James,
convinced,
where-
I think you shouldn't know any of that.
Yeah, no, it's a great film, and I will point out that it's directed by the guy who did Mama, and I loved Mama too.
Yep.
So here's the trailer for it.
When you're a kid, you think the universe revolves around you. You think that you'll always be protected and cared for. Then, one day, you realize that's not true. Because when you're alone as a kid, the monsters see you as weaker. You don't even know they're getting closer. Till it's too late. Here. Take it.
My grandfather thinks this town is cursed. That all the bad things that happen in this town are because of one thing. An evil thing.
Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too.
Georgie. I saw something.
The clown. Yeah, I saw him too. You'll float too.
What happens when another Georgie goes missing? Or one of us?
You'll float too.
Are you just gonna pretend it isn't happening like everyone else in this town? If we stick together, we'll win.
So at least to preface it, we'll say, like, I think we can go a little while without really spoiling it, but if you're going to watch the movie, from here on out, we're going to be able to just talk freely about this, so beware.
The story...
I'm kind of curious about because your initial review is that this is among the best movies of the year, but you have stated in the past that you do not like the book It.
No, I think the book is garbage.
So, is it fair to say that Stephen King is a really good premise man? But
I think so.
But he's a hit or miss on the actual content.
I think so. And
he was on a lot of cocaine when he wrote this book.
And to be, this is a lot of people's favorite Stephen King novel.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Shauna.
The reason I don't like this book is there's a couple scenes in it that I think are gross.
Yeah,
and
sure, I'm aware of one of them.
Yeah, and also in the book, narratively, he bounces back and forth between adults and kids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and it should be stated that this film focuses solely on the kids.
Yeah,
there's really no adults here.
No, and if I had one criticism of this film, is the next part's going to be the adults, and I'm really not looking forward to it. But
yeah,
because there's other parts in the book where so as the book goes along, I don't want to spoil it, but they reveal what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like it.
in a way that this movie doesn't, right?
Yes,
because
yes.
I know nothing. So
yes,
and I'll be honest, I'm not concerned with you possibly spoiling the second film.
Okay,
right.
So they explain. Do you want me to,
I know that it's like a trans-dimensional monster or something,
there you
and
go.
that it ends
So
up being like a spider.
Yeah, and it's like orange spots, and it's like 3 million years old.
And you do see a quick like there at the end, like he suddenly has these big long like thing. I thought
crab.
they were going to go,
yeah.
I thought they were going to maybe go there.
To me, the book is I think 1,136 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
So Stephen King has a tendency to ramble. When you ask me, I've said this many times. My favorite Stephen King book is his novella Cycle of the Werewolf because it gets straight to the point.
Mm-hmm.
He has a tendency to ramble. Cujo is a good book. It gets straight to the point. Gerald's Game, which is coming out on Netflix, is a good book. It's like 400 pages.
Mm-hmm.
It, The Stand, The Shining, I think ramble. And I've never been a big fan of The Shining. I've not been a big fan of... Actually, I'm not even that big of a Stephen King fan. But I will say that his premises, you're right, are very cool.
Mm-hmm.
The first 30 pages of this book are terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 30 pages of the book is the opening of the movie.
Yeah.
Georgie gets his boat, goes underneath.
And that scene with Georgie in the basement is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
In the book, Pennywise, when you meet him, has a bunch of balloons. I haven't read the book in so long.
He has balloons that are as brightly colored as fresh fruit.
Okay, so I'm not remembering it wrong. So he sees that. So we'll go back to the movie. So the book is, I'm not a fan of it. The reason I like the movie so much is because it does focus on the kids, and I think they got the kids right.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything they say reminds me of my friends. It's everybody has their little quirks and their little...
Everybody's clearly defined.
Exactly, and I think that's the best thing this movie did, was even a little boy named Georgie, and I mean, he's dead within the first 10 minutes of the film. He's such a weight throughout the rest of the film. You feel like you understand who he is.
Yeah.
And even the kid Bill, the kid who plays Bill,
amazing
with the stutter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you can. That is the most convincing stutter I've ever seen on film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even when he has his big powerful moments, like it's funny. It's such an obvious thing where he's going to have a big moment where he talks and he doesn't stutter, and that's going to be huge. And it happens, and I didn't notice
until they said it.
Yeah, because he still struggles.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't quite stutter, and so it's a subtle thing that they do. Like the character says it, and I don't feel like you're pandering to me or that I'm supposed to be stupid. I actually felt like you pulled that off because his performance is so good, and that's amazing. I mean, it's great.
So to me, to sell the horror, usually the most effective horror films are the ones that you care about the characters the most.
Right.
Whether it's
Halloween,
Laurie Strode, So you cut me off the Ben kid.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's fine. You didn't want to spoil the Ben kid. I love this kid in this movie because when he first meets Bev, and she says, "You're listening to New Kids on the Block." What a funny joke throughout the course of the movie. And he's like, "Yo, girl, please don't go," like the song.
And he's such a lovable kid, and I think the tension between him and Billy and Bev is a great part of the story that in most
subtly.
movies would just be on the cutting room floor. You just wouldn't do it because you don't have time. And the fact that this movie is 2.5 hours long is to everyone's credit making it that they were that ballsy, because this movie is only great because they are allowed to do that kind of stuff.
And I will take it a step further. So you're right. That would either be on the cutting room floor, or it would be an important plot point that is shoved in your face the wrong way. I like the fact that this is done subtly. They don't draw a bunch of attention to the fact that Ben might be harboring resentment. They kind of allude to it. Yeah. There's not a lot of Ben scowling in the corner while Billy and Bev are hanging out.
Yeah, and I think he has that, but it's also, I think he understands that it's okay to have a friend too.
Yeah,
because he says he doesn't have a friend, and he realizes that, I can profess my love to her in the cutest little poem, and it's just so well done, and
a really to the point of the film, actually a really brave moment because there's no consequence for him, right? Like, especially it's, your fear when you're that kid, where you think like, man, if I actually tell a girl how I feel, like only bad things can come from it. Like, here's this great story about bravery where even though he doesn't get what he wants, nothing bad actually comes from it. Like, everything is okay. Sure, there's some confusion there, but she knows. Like, it's not like it's hidden.
And what I love too about the character of Bev is she's willing. She makes her own decisions when she knows she has feelings for Bill, and she drops the line of the poem, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And she's disappointed, but it's another moment that's just built into this layers of these characters that is great, because when Ben saves her, is she saved? I don't know. I guess Pennywise is kind of using her to lure the other kids to him.
Yeah. Well, or it may just be that she actually is like consumed or whatever, and that those kids. I don't know enough about.
Well, the thing is with Pennywise is he feeds off your fear.
Right.
That's why he preys on children, because they're more easily scared.
Yeah.
So if her biggest fear is her father, she's not afraid of him.
Right.
Like, everything, what her father did is horrible to her, so she's like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh.
She's the only one, I think. She's the only one whose fear is whose fear is not irrational.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
She's the only person who's afraid of something real. Which is part of why she's so great.
By the way, I want a court order sent out for all the parents of Derry, Maine to be rounded up and shot in the head.
Right.
God damn it, they are horrible fucking people. The mom of Eddie makes me want to smack her. Oh my god! The moment she appeared on screen, I said I want to smack her.
But she plays that's such an important character for who Eddie is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Because without that, it's
right. And
absolutely.
It's interesting. She's terrifying early on, and then that last moment we have with her, like, she's awful, and you kind of expect that, like, she's going to turn into a real monster. And when he runs out on the porch and she runs after him, like, there's a desperation there that's very human and actually makes me like her.
What does he call the pills? He doesn't call them placebo pills.
He calls them gazebos.
Gazebos. Such great little kid moments.
And all the kid actors are great. I think the girl who plays Bev is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a transformative performance. Guy who plays Bill is really good. My favorite of the kids is Eddie. Because, like, I think there's a part of me that could, like, connect to Eddie in terms of, like, having a similar relationship with my parents. But, like, this is he is such an assured actor.
I agree.
Like, from moment A to moment end, where he doesn't feel like he's struggling to understand what he's supposed to do. And I think it's a very strong performance.
Yeah, I think that's the strength of the film too. Is I think everybody can identify. It's like I identify with that Ben kid. Always like being like the lovable guy, and not knowing what to say to girls when I was younger and things like that. And
I can relate to Ben too on that level, I guess too. So, but like, I don't know. Like,
and the kid who's from Stranger Things, he's great too. Is
so good.
Richie,
that's such a shit heel. Yeah. He's so good.
But I love when we finally reveal that because there's this moment where he's like, I'm not afraid of anything. And then there's that where he turns and sees a clown on a stage. And I'm like, fuck, man, he does have fear.
Yeah.
Like, he's masking it with a shit ton of cursing.
Yeah.
And,
what's great about this film too is we haven't even talked about Pennywise and the horror element of this film.
Let's talk about Bill Skarsgård and how he kind of sounds like Scooby-Doo. Now,
to our point of, because I think you and I have said something very similar, right? Like, if this is like the Monster Squad, or if I'm saying it feels like an adventure film, or it feels like a Stranger Things, I think that's because those kids are so great, and while the horror elements are there and they're terrifying, when they're there, you're invested in that. You're not like most regular horror films, like a slasher. Like, the people are
they're disposable.
They're disposable. They're usually very shallow, and so you're not really rooting. I mean, the truth is, in some of them, you're really sort of rooting for the slasher because you're like, oh well, that's the fun part of the movie, right? Or you want to see like them sort of try to get away, but some of them are going to die. Like, this is one where you want these kids to figure out how they're going to beat this guy because they're so amazingly lovable.
I feel like Pennywise, the reason he works in this film because I haven't seen the miniseries with Tim Curry.
You don't need to.
But here's the well, I'm going to watch Tim Curry's on it. But here's the thing: I've got to take an assumption and say that Tim Curry hams it up a shit ton.
Yeah, I think it's super overrated.
And this is an instance where Bill Skarsgård is a genius, and I think he should get a nomination for Best Supporting Actor for this film. Because, and part of it's the first 10 minutes, but also is that what?
That's so good.
No, I was gonna say no. It's the first 10 minutes.
He's a character I don't want to see throughout the entire film because of how scary he is.
I think what's great about his performance, I don't know if you can follow me on this, is he's there, but he's not there.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to be normal when he's talking to Georgie, but he's not.
Yeah, and
he's almost like
pretending to be human.
But in the performance is
incapable of actually pulling it off.
And I've mentioned this before a couple weeks ago, but when he's talking about the popcorn, and then Georgie's like, yeah, popcorn, and then he's just like, and it's
Did you know that's practical? The eye thing?
Is it really?
Yeah. So Bill Skarsgård has a lazy eye. Mm-hmm. He has spent most of his life. I learned about this today from somebody, so I could be wrong, but he's had a lazy eye his whole life. He's worked for years to correct it, and in this case, worked really hard to let it go lazy again, so that he could pull that off and have one eye look at the camera and one eye look at Georgie. And so that shot is a practical shot. I mean, obviously the one later where his eyes go wide, that's not real in the sort of mummy-esque way or whatever. Right. A lot of eye shit this year. But that one at the beginning, when his eye just goes lazy, and there are other times where it just gets wonky, it's just his eyes, which is so bizarre.
It is such a cool actor choice to, and by the director too, to leave it there. Like he's like, and popcorn. And it stays there.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else, and that's what I mean. It's like it takes the monster to a while to like reset and to lure this child to get his boat, and he realizes what he has to do, and even the way he delivers the line where he's like, "You have to get it. You don't want Bill to kill you.
Bill's gonna kill you."
Yeah, and it's like, the way he delivers the line, it's very, very unique.
Yeah,
and honestly, any movie that is willing, like Jaws, to hurt children and show you what happens to them, the imagery is horrific.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because I've read the book, and I know that Georgie loses his arm.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think that would happen.
And
that helpless moment where he's there, and there's the woman who's so close, and like, it's really unsettling.
Well, because I mean, the way the camera's positioned, where he's like crawling towards you.
Yeah.
When his arms flying and blood's flying everywhere, and like, whoa.
Yeah.
And the moment where he's back in the basement, and Bill follows him down there, and he's like, you'll float too. You'll float too. And
he's a ventriloquist dummy.
And he like starts shaking, and like he's rotting away.
And then it's revealed he's a ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah.
He turned a kid into a ventriloquist dummy. This movie should be banned by the Catholic League.
And then even the moment when they go and confront Pennywise, and he tries to use Georgie again on Bill.
That scene is incredibly rough, and rough not because, for me, not because it's about like, hey, let's see Bill basically kill Georgie. Like, yeah, that's visually rough. Emotionally, what's happening there is he's got to come to terms with the fact that Georgie is gone.
Yeah, something he hasn't been able to do the whole time.
Yeah, like that's the part that is so rough and honestly really a beautiful moment. You know.
Yeah.
It's a very mature adult.
And again, what
moment.
makes the movie cool too is he says, you're not Georgie.
Yeah.
And then it stays there for a couple beats.
Yeah.
Like nothing happens. Like, did he just literally just kill his? I say no. But,
yeah.
Like, did he kill his brother? And Pennywise, he has some moments in it that I think you're right. I think this Skarsgård villain is going to transcend time because the imagery is already scary, and what he brings to the performance is really terrifying.
Because all he has to do is sell the moments he's as Pennywise, because the rest of what it does is manifest itself based on your fear. And I guess from what I was reading, the book was monsters from like the 50s era.
So, because the book takes place in the 50s.
Yeah, so with this one is even better is that they're able to tap into a more modern sensibility while still keeping it in the 80s. The painting lady is freaky.
Yeah. It's that painting on its own. You see that and you're like, who are you, Dad? Like, what the fuck?
The leper is straight up fucking nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Again, it all works in this wonderful way. And within that, Bill Skarsgård has to pull off the sparse moments where you see Pennywise and he delivers dialogue. It's strange to say this because it's not directly related, but it reminds me a lot of when Heath Ledger played the Joker. Mm-hmm. I know that's comparing one clown to another clown.
Sure, yeah.
But
that same level
go
of
beyond
chaos,
that surface level connection is that they're both villains, and much like what Ledger does as the Joker, because we don't see the Joker shit ton in The Dark Knight. What Pennywise does, Bill Skarsgård does as Pennywise is ground it. Whereas my impression of Tim Curry from the clips I've seen is that he Jack Nicholson's it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm drawing the comparison to make that point.
Yeah.
Which is like this is the reality of there's that joke that Pennywise does when Eddie's outside the house, and he it's a dumb line, which is well, if you lived here, you'd already be home.
It's really good.
We all float down there. But so he's telling the joke, but he's kind of mocking it.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't understand it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because
there's these weird moments where he's kind of funny.
Because he's a 3 million year old monster who doesn't know what new comedy is.
Yeah.
I say I think this is a performance for the ages in terms of horror, because this is something very strong, and I understand that there's frustration that part 2 won't involve the kids we've seen in this movie.
I think that's the only thing I'm not.
But we will at least still have Bill Skarsgård is my understanding.
Oh yeah.
Well, so my hope, the thing I'll say is, I think you could elevate the first film with the second film, if what this becomes is, and I haven't read the book, so I don't really know. But if you took this opportunity, right, when these characters come back as adults, obviously there's things you're going to call back to, and ways that, now that as they've gotten older, my fear is that it'll feel very Dreamcatcher-esque, where half the characters are fucking assholes that you don't like, and that'll be disappointing. But to me, the best thing you could do is have their fears change in a way that represents the way that as you become an adult, the things you're afraid of go from being irrational things to being more rational things. Yeah. And if what it does to prey on their fears really brings that into view, and basically your fears in the second film are actually way scarier, right? They're not a melted looking lady thing. They're the kinds of things that really do happen, and the kinds of pain and terror that you are actually afraid of as an adult. Mm-hmm. If you use that, I think it has the potential to elevate even the first movie, because you're juxtaposing these two different things, and that could be really cool. If the end of the movie is a giant fucking spider, then that might not be as cool. It might be cool just as a, hey, we need to kill the giant spider thingy. But
its weakness is turtles, so
its fucking weakness is turtles. Okay, well, we should really rewrite the second one a lot, because Stephen King was on a lot of drugs when he wrote it.
So earlier on, I alluded to how this is an important film to be released.
Yeah,
or among the most important films to be released. So here's my reckoning and reason, which was validated by an article that I read this morning on the film's box office success. So this year has been very good for horror films. I think that can be agreed, between Get Out, Annabelle Creation, and It. And there's probably been some other stuff that Split. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Split, but it's technically a horror movie.
Interesting.
So, so this has been very good for it, and so it's kind of proof positive that this genre will always live on, obviously. But it goes in phases like any other genre. And other than maybe superhero films, I think they're on a steady plateau. So I think that the success of this film is good because we're going to see the studios start going back to horror because this business is reactionary.
True.
And when we see $117 million going into Warner Brothers' pocket for a horror movie, because it is a horror movie, regardless of like classifying it in separate subgenres, it's a horror movie. And so other studios are going to take note. What I think is very important about this release of this film is that it confirms something that I've been suspecting since The Conjuring came out in 2013 and got these stellar reviews and good box office, is that Warner Brothers has something very good that they're not necessarily taking advantage of up until now, which is that they're doing horror films a lot better than Universal is at the moment, with the exception of Get Out, but that's an acquisition, so it's different.
Yeah.
The Conjuring universe so far is the most successful cinematic universe post-Marvel right now in terms of consistency of quality and how much money it makes. Their DC stuff, I'm sorry, with the exception of Wonder Woman, they're fucking it up. And I think that Justice League is going to bomb, and Warner Brothers is going to rethink a lot of things, but among them is, hey, why don't we try making some quality horror movies? Because those have been good bread and butter for us at weak moments for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, but the watchword there was quality, right? Like, if you just throw money, if what you do is you go, hey, it worked, let's go remake a bunch of Stephen King novels.
Well, again, since it's reactionary, it will probably not go my way. But
right.
I'm saying that the idea is planted.
Sure.
For this to spark a renaissance of horror that will also spread out to the other studios as well. And I think that's a good thing, because I think especially with how we are living in the world right now, horror is a good release. I think, in a way, horror films are the healthiest genre of films that exist, because it allows for a release that we can't get in the real world tangibly.
I categorically disagree, but I understand what you're saying.
What I hope is horror films start going away from the supernatural stuff.
Sure.
And not, I mean, I guess it is technically supernatural, but what I mean is like the cheap, here's a jump scare, and here's another jump scare.
And I think this film, The Conjuring films, and Get Out prove that the jump scare doesn't work anymore, and you have to build tension to earn any form of a jump scare, number one, but number two, you've got to draw it out with actual content.
Yeah, and then I just can't wait till Friday the 13th goes back to them.
That's another thing. So, like, because it would go back to New Line, I don't think New Line's going to be afraid to exploit that for what they can.
Because New Line's never been really afraid.
Yeah,
Paramount is terrified.
Well, because Paramount doesn't get why they have this like black sheep in their family.
Yeah,
it's always been that way for them since the moment it was arrived. I also think, in terms of the content of this film, it is dark as shit. Holy fuck! Like, how this film got an R rating is beyond me, because I can see so many people coming out and protesting this. If it were the PC era, but I think we're getting away from PC era, and stuff like this and Stranger Things and stuff like that is now allowed to exist and be a viable market again, like it would have been in the mid 80s. But the fact that there was a miniseries of it in the 90s is kind of boggling to me, given the fact that all the content that's in that story in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
dude, like, this fucking movie has a kid get his arm bit off, and there's a good 10 seconds where that kid is crawling and his nub is leaking blood into the sewer.
Yeah.
It's hard, rough shit.
It is. It's pretty rough.
A clown bites a kid in the face.
Hey, there's a crazy moment in this movie where they're watching some slides, and then a giant-ass fucking clown climbs through a giant projector and fills the whole garage. Mm-hmm. That was weird.
Yep.
I don't know why that even worked.
I think this film is important. And I'm glad that it came out when it did, especially at the end of the summer slump. And I think that this is going to dictate a lot of trends for the next couple of years. And I'm hoping in a good way.
Yeah. I think it's an amazing movie. I always want a movie to be good and have something worth saying, and this is definitely one that I think fits that bill.
And I'm happy that it's able to go beyond just being the film, like what it can do to bolster other areas.
Sure.
It's very important. So I love this movie.
Yeah, go see it. Next week we're seeing Mother.
Okay.
It's that or American Assassin or All I See Is You.
How do you not want to see American Assassin more?
Because I think Mother looks more interesting.
Okay. Hey, I want to see Mother because I have no fucking clue what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I've heard that it's going to disturb all of America. Yeah. It's the most
That
controversial.
trailer today
the trailer's pretty great.
Just awful.
Really,
I hate
that
that
is pretty
trailer.
great.
You will never forget the first where you were the first
It
time.
reminds me of like the 60s, 50s, big time.
I agree with that. Yeah, but
they
it's
do it in the
so-
wrong. But they do it the wrong way.
Yeah,
I think
it
I bought
feels
my
so
ticket.
on the
I
nose.
walked right out there and bought my ticket.
because I told you to.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, maybe that's Brad what he wants to see.
Yeah. I mean, I like and am a big defender of Darren Aronofsky. I'm very curious to see what the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence says he's a genius.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence. Oh, whatever.
I entered that contest to
I
go
love
get
Jennifer
wine.
Lawrence.
She's okay.
I love her. I entered that contest so I could go wine tasting with her and have a picnic.
Nice.
No, I didn't.
I
Well,
would.
it's worth it. Yeah, you might as well. Man,
Cool.
can't believe I liked it.
Yeah.
So I only have one more question for you guys. Would you like a balloon? Yeah, I'll float down here.
Maybe we can
He's so
talk to Brad and maybe just put that scene instead of the trailer in.
Oh, man, he's just so. Well, the problem is there's so much quietness, right? Like there's so much silence in there that it would make for a really bad podcast.
Yeah.
But-
All right. Whatever.
Man,
Welcome to Real Nerds Podcast.
I've generally this whole review just been like looking at photos the whole time.
Of naked women?
No, no. From the film,
Oh, okay.
like pictures of Pennywise and pictures of, like I've looked at a lot of photos of the weird spidery thing from the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that line when he's going like when Georgie says we're strangers and he's like, oh, well that's easy to fix. Pennywise, yeah, meet Georgie. Georgie, meet Pennywise. I was like, fuck. I don't want any clown coming within 5 feet of my house.
Yeah. Oh man, guys, there's turtles hidden in the movie.
Yep. Remember, he picks up the Lego turtle when he goes into Georgie's
He
room,
does,
and
then
it
drops
breaks, and then he goes down there and he's not protected.
Oh man, that's so dumb.
I'm just saying, if I ever meet Bill Skarsgård, I'm going to shake him by the collar and go, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah. Cool. Go
Thanks
see
for
it.
listening.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 You'll float too.
Well.
Real Nerds Podcast is a Nebulous Visions multimedia production. The Real Nerds would like to thank the Alamo Draft House in Littleton and now open in Sloan's Lake. We also would like to thank Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics, especially Andrew. Our music has been brought to you by Sparks Mandrill and Plan 9 Studios. And of course, thanks to James's mother, our most loyal listener. Have a nice day.